All right, we're looking pretty good.
Sound waves looking fresh.
Stay nice and close. Yeah, yeah.
Are they mid?
It's a little more than mid, I'd say.
We go.
Yeah, yeah. We're like in the 70% of like the Rotten Tomato range, so a little above average. And this is like the critic score. This isn't even considering the audience score.
Yeah, they're usually a lot more
forgiving.
Yeah, 100%. Or tougher.
I watched an ad the other day that came on, a YouTube ad. It was for Uncharted, and
you got one of your things out for that, don't you?
That's a whole nother thing, because I watched this on desktop.
Oh,
but it was also like a TV commercial too, because I saw it at my parents' house. The ad was promoting the fact that the movie had like, I had to like go back and rewind because it said like 90% Rotten Tomato score. I'm like, what the fuck? That can't be right. So I looked up the Rotten Tomato score and it says 43%. I'm like, that's a bunch of bullshit. So then I rewinded the footage and I listened back to it, and it said 90% audience score for Uncharted. I'm like, okay,
there we go.
That makes a little more sense.
Which the video gamers must have felt that it honored the video game. Right?
I honestly think it was probably all people who just saw that Tom Holland was in the movie. Probably had no idea that the video game even exists.
Oh,
they got to the scene where Nolan North is on the beach as a cameo, and he's like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" Because he played Nathan Drake in the games.
Oh, really?
And the parents looked at that scene, and they were like, "Who the fuck is that?" Anyway, this movie's great. I love Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. They're so funny. 90%.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with all that.
Have you seen Uncharted?
No, I'm not. I've already did my money wasting venture. That movie doesn't speak anything to
me.
Dude,
it was not good. It was not good.
I was telling oh my god, I was talking to some friends, and we were talking about movies or whatever, and like, why don't you watch this or that? And I'm like, because it's 2 hours that I have to dedicate of something.
Plus, it's money.
Even if
money builds up.
Even if Uncharted was like on Netflix, like that's 2 hours of my day that I have to go and be like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and watch this and actually devote something.
Yep.
Like, I'm good.
I don't blame you. Part of me watching it was sort of a sacrifice. I feel like Jesus in a way, almost, where
oh yeah,
I am bringing the burden of seeing this movie onto myself so that other people,
the Church of Kyle,
don't have to go through the pain. Yeah. The sins of cinema, if you will, which I think that's a YouTube channel. But anyway,
no free plugs.
Yeah, no free plugs. No. We won't name you specifically.
Yeah.
You have to name us specifically.
Please
do it. Please, we're desperate.
Just gonna start adding everything on Twitter.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Twitter, I saw we went from 8 followers to 9 followers.
Really? I thought I saw.
So.
Oh, so 14 tweets, maybe 15 tweets, and we're up to 9 followers?
I think, we're following 15 people.
Okay. I've seen a bunch of different numbers, and every time I just nod. It's like Facebook. I mean, I feel like that number incrementally, we're getting growing.
We're inching up there.
Yeah.
At like once every 2 weeks, I'll get like a new like on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Usually from like an old classmate or someone.
However it goes.
Yeah, they probably see like the invite that they got from me like half a year ago, and they look at my profile and they feel bad, so they're like, I haven't talked to Kyle in a while.
I'm really curious. I mean, like people just like I've liked a couple friends stuff, but like it's. I don't hop in there and I'm not actively following it.
Yeah,
but
I've done that a couple times.
The same token, if it sits there after like 2 weeks, I'm not.
It's funny because like a lot of the times that happens, it's usually for people's podcasts.
Yeah,
like there's been a couple different types of podcasts that I've been invited to that like I'll either accept it or not, depending on like who the person is or like what the podcast is. Because there's one podcast that. I don't know if they do it anymore, but like a few people that I went to school with, they started it was like a sports podcast.
Oh,
and I'm not, you know me, McClain.
Yeah,
I am not well versed in the arena
about it.
In the arena of athletics. So
yeah,
it was not a podcast that was something that I would have normally listened to.
Did you decline it and then send them a private message explaining yourself?
Yes, of course. Ever so politely, of which they blocked me. No, I accepted it.
Yeah.
And I think I listened to like a minute or so of it, but it was stuff that was completely
You
foreign to me.
heard 3 different names, and you're like, I don't know
I
any
heard-
of these people.
I heard the word parlay and I checked out.
Yeah. Oh.
This is before I watched Uncut Gems, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, you and I guess I should intro. I didn't really intro,
no,
did I?
you're good. This is just how we do it. It's this coffee shop.
It gets longer every single
You just
episode.
hop in here and just start talking, man.
The intro just like gets pushed. Pretty soon, like the intro will be an hour into the episode.
It's gonna turn into the outro.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be us going, and then and that was Neon Crew. Yep.
Yeah.
We'll have to play the intro and outro song
Yeah.
back to back.
The outro song hits and it just goes, and then you hear my voice like distorted in the background, like, my name is Kyle. Welcome. No, for those joining us, my name is Kyle.
Yeah, and my name's Mac. I'm gonna be Mac for today.
Okay, you switch it up every now and again. You either go like your formal, like full name, McClain, or you go like the shorthand, Mac. And I'm glad that you at least keep Mac sometimes, because that's what I have on the website.
Oh, so people might not.
Yeah, I have McClain Parker on there, like for your full like title bio.
I think that people would do the math. I don't know.
Yeah, but in like your list of favorite movies, of which Big Trouble in Little China is one of them, I list your name as Mac's favorite movies, or some of Mac's favorite movies.
What you run into is people that are like, I don't know a Mac, I know a Matt, but not Mac.
Yeah, I'll say your name to other people, and they'll get you confused with someone else. Like, oh, you mean Max? And I'm like, no, not Max, Mac.
Yep,
or Matt, and no, Mac. Think of McDonald's.
That's why the MCC, man. I mean, like, not to get mixed up with the MCU, but I mean, like, it's right there.
Or the community college.
Ooh.
Yes. Even more.
That's even
popular.
more local and niche.
Yes.
For you people listening in California.
I was looking at the analytics one day on Spotify,
Yeah.
and like every now and again I'll get like a little sliver of a percent where it just says it's from like Switzerland
Oh.
or like Denmark.
Hey.
I'm like, what is this all about? Is there someone actually listening to us in these European countries that have probably never even like
If you are, shout us out.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
us know when you pop us on.
shout us out in the Swiss language.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like to hear that. One day, shooting for the stars.
One day.
Speaking of one day,
Henry Styles?
Bruce Wayne was leaving a movie theater with his parents when they got murdered. The Batman.
Ah, yes. One fun thing to think about is what was the last movie that the Wayne family saw together before they were broken up?
It's funny because I saw a theory on, I think it was Reddit. I always go on Reddit way too much. But
Okay.
It was, they deduced that based on the age that Batman, Bruce Wayne's character is supposed to be in the movie, they like subtracted by like when his parents get murdered, so like when the year takes place.
Yep.
And they figured out that there is a high possibility that they could have been leaving the theater after seeing Shrek 2.
Shrek 2.
Yeah.
And now that's why Shrek is all over Netflix.
Yeah. Award-winning films. I saw it in the award-winning films category. The Shrek movies.
I can't wait until Shrek is a spinoff on HBO Max with the Penguin.
Yeah. Peacemaker.
Yeah.
They Mike Myers, man, they bring him back.
Dude, I'm telling. I mean, it's someone's gonna come out with it. Actually, no, it's gonna go on forever. If no one knowing because of who created Batman? That wasn't Stan Lee, was it?
It was Bob Kane. No, Stan Lee was Marvel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Bob, I didn't. Well, anyways, so
Yeah.
maybe Bob knows.
Maybe is Bob still alive?
Of course,
We don't know.
in this universe, I guess it's different
Yeah, but
because Bob made those comics a long time ago.
yes. Batman's a pretty long-spanning comic series. Batman's super popular. I guess my question for you is like, are you like a Batman fan? A lot of people like they'll list him as like their number one hero.
No, growing up, I never was into comics, so I didn't. I just appreciated them for the actiony stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you.
So I never. If I had to pick one, I don't maybe the Wolverine.
Okay. Yeah, I would not. I don't even know if I have a favorite superhero. Honestly, for the long time it was the Hulk. So when Ang Lee's Hulk came out when I was 8 years old, I was all over that.
Destroyed
shit.
you.
Yeah, I for third grade I had Hulk hands, and for Halloween I had like a Hulk costume with the Hulk hands. And
my god,
it was pretty dope.
Yeah,
one of the best costumes.
Yeah, Sam. I don't want to name drop someone I know dressed up as a Hulk for St. Patty's Day.
Oh,
yeah,
thematic.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, it did the whole green. They looked like Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah, St. Patty's Day is next week. Is he going to do it again?
I doubt it. He has more responsibilities. Not much more, but a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Back burner.
Fuck.
They're not as important.
No, man. St. Patty's Day happens only once a year. Responsibilities are every hour.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You can put them on the back burner.
Exactly. Speaking of back burner.
What the fuck was on the back of Batman's vehicle? Am I right?
Exactly.
Whoa.
Burning away. The thrusters. So yeah, I guess we can get into our discussions for the Batman.
Yeah.
Which you and I both saw together.
We did.
Our second outing at the movies.
One of these, I'd say one of these times I'll have to do a live pod during a movie, but that probably won't go over well. And copyright laws.
Copyright laws, piracy laws,
that shit.
Warner Brothers might not
You
take
know
too
what
kindly
destroyed
to that.
America? Regulations.
Copyright.
That too.
Honestly though, copyright is kind of a bullshit thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it was only meant to last, I think, like a certain amount of years, like 8 years or something. And then Disney like kept pushing for like more and more laws to be enacted. So now like copyright can last for as long as like 200 years or some shit like that. Like it's crazy.
What if Walt Disney came back from the future?
I thought you were going to say from the dead.
Build up his empire, and he knew about cryogenically freezing yourself, and that's why he's doing it.
Yes. I feel like that would create a time loop, but I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Shane Carruth, but he got canceled, so I can't.
Is that Looper?
No, that's Primer.
Yeah, he helped write the timeline in Looper.
Oh, okay.
And he did the the color of
Upstream Color.
I
haven't seen that one yet.
I have not either.
Yeah,
but he was brought on to help out with the time with Looper. So anyways, we're both on the same page.
Yeah.
So Walt Disney's a fucking time traveler.
Yeah, we don't have to get stuck on copyright too much, but yeah,
Okay.
we saw it in theaters together.
Yeah.
I was really worried because there was this couple that brought a baby into the movie.
Oh, you had the same thought.
Yes, I had the
Okay.
same exact thought. This baby's gonna fucking cry throughout the whole thing, and I'm gonna be pissed.
That wasn't even. You know what? That was number 2 on the list. Number 1 was the chick sitting behind us.
The people laughing behind us at inappropriate times
I
during
wouldn't
the
call
film.
it inappropriate. It was like one of
They
those.
killed the tension for me.
That's why I kind of got to that point where I was like, oh, this is the nervous laughter. Like when you don't know how to feel or you're anxious. You kind of fill that space with the
Interesting.
weird jokes or the
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is what they're gonna do every time something kind of pops up. Where
Anytime
there's supposed to be
something-
tension built.
Yeah, anytime something slightly uncomfortable happened, they would always like audibly laugh, and I just thought it was them like making fun of what was happening.
They could. I mean,
But I don't know.
I would-
either way. It was annoying and kind of rude. And I there was a couple times where like I'll do this thing if people in the theater are pissing me off for some reason. I'll like look back and look at them for a second.
Yeah.
And then my hope is that they'll make eye contact with me, and then hopefully they'll get the visual message of me wanting to send them
Menacing.
down the seats with a hearty thrust.
Yeah.
And that they'll stop their shenanigans, but I feel like that has failed more often than not.
I think what happens is because you're at that point, it's like it's supposed to be quiet, and they don't know how to handle their emotions. So like you get into then they got the higher ground, so it just turns into them picking on us.
Especially because I've heard stories too where like someone has spoken up in a movie, like, "Hey, can you be quiet?" And then like for some reason, everybody in the movie turns on them, even though they're completely right. I'm always terrified of that happening. It's like, okay, well now everybody hates me, and I'm not going to get what I want.
No, I don't have. They started doing it, and at first I was like, we got these high school chicks sitting behind us, and then it kind of turned into, oh, they don't know how to feel right now, and they can't. It's like if you're watching a movie with your parents and a sex scene pops on, it's like, I should probably start talking or laughing or maybe get up and go somewhere.
I was gonna say, that's when I usually go to the fridge and spend a long time looking for a cheese stick.
Black Swan.
Yeah.
A cheese stick. Yeah, Black Swan opened up, and all of a sudden, it was me and my mom watching it, and then all of a sudden, Mila Kunis starts going down on Natalie Portman. I was like, whoa! And it sucks. I was like, it's girl on girl, so I want to see what's going on. So I went to the kitchen, but I looked out from the hall, like the doorway.
Yeah, but your mom is also there, so you don't want her knowing that you're looking from down the hall.
Yeah, well, it wasn't like how the room's set up. It's very easy where you could open it up and act like you're fidgeting and still kind of watching like what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. I think that's what it is. So it really aided me. And then there was a couple times where I started guessing when they would shut up, because obviously what was happening was engrossing them, So, and I was actually right a couple times on a couple scenes where I was like, I don't think they're going to say anything.
Yeah, you predicted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was way more worried about the baby, which thank God it, like, for the most part stayed calm.
I think that was probably number 3 on annoyances in the theater.
Yeah, there were a couple times where I could still hear it, but it wasn't like, it was more just like general baby sounds, like, like
the Goo Goo Gaga stuff.
Yeah, the Goo Goo Gaga stuff. It wasn't like full on having a tantrum.
And I'm not here to judge, but I thought it was a weird movie to bring a baby to.
Oh,
but
of course,
they're not gonna. I mean, it's a blank sheet.
Like, well, it's not even like a movie that I would think you could bring your 5-year-old to, because unlike Spider-Man, I feel like Spider-Man No Way Home, it's a good comparison. Like, you can bring your kid to Spider-Man No Way Home and they'll get enjoyment out of it. This movie, the way it's paced and the way that it portrays the character of Batman being like more of a noir detective style sort of thing, I feel like kids would just get bored with it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, yes.
So, and I guess it's the, it's fair if you're like not expecting it to be that way.
Well, for a kid, we don't need to dive in.
We don't need to dive in.
Yeah. I'm with that. Yeah, so we both thought it was odd and that the people behind us were annoying, but it didn't ruin the enjoyment of the film for me. So, and I still had my thoughts, and I don't at any point, I don't think it was ever deterred with what was happening in the crowd.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad. So this movie is directed by Matt Reeves, stars Robert Pattinson, and is about pretty much the first 2 years of Bruce Wayne being Batman, being the vigilante. They don't really go into the origin story of like his parents getting killed. You don't see that in the movie. So you start out pretty much right away with like him being new to sort of like the Batman mantle. And in this movie, he has to deal with characters like the Riddler, Catwoman, Selena Kyle, and the Penguin, and just the entire corruption of Gotham City, and how part of him struggles with trying to find the reasoning to keep doing what he's doing, but he has to power through and sort of become a sort of symbol of vengeance and justice for the city of Gotham. And that's pretty much the movie. So I guess, what did you think of it?
So what did I think of the Batman?
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I liked it. I'll hold off on the grade until we get to the end, because that's typically what we do.
Right.
Kind of coming in impartially, if you will, saying, all right, I gotta forget what's happened with Nolan, because I made the mistake with Batman Begins. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if this is like the Michael Keaton shit or George Clooney cartoon, like, this is going to be, I don't want to watch it. And then thankfully I went and saw it in theaters. I was like, wow, that just redid the whole perspective on Batman. You put him in this different universe, and it's a little bit, it's funny too, because you think that that's dark, and then you get to this one and you're like, holy shit. Not even lighting, just the noir aspect of it.
Just like the tone.
Yes.
The fucking Nirvana song going on the whole time.
Dude. So I came in, and I think what happened to me was that it was mismarketed. I'll continue to say that.
I can understand that. Yeah.
I mean, like, I think we talked about it, but like, it's very good. I will say this. It's very good that they lead you in right away with the murder, mm-hmm. and you see him on the scene. Because at that, like, right then and there, I was like, I wonder if this is going to be like this. Like that thought popped into my head. I was kind of waiting to see, all right, is it going to be like the Nolan Batman, or is it going to be this new detective, noir aspect where he's got to help out? Because you don't really know. Because in the Nolan one, he did help out with the police. I mean, he would show up, and they kind of had the same reaction. But then there's a lot of cutaway scenes with him and his personal life and like what's going on with his kind of turmoil inside. And this one just went completely detective mode, which I thought was I like that. I mean, some of the comic books that I've read or I've like perused, he was a detective.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people really like about this movie too, and it's certainly something that I liked. So I think I'm on the same boat as you, is that I like this movie quite a bit. Obviously, there are some things with it that I had issues with, but we can get into it later.
Yeah.
We'll start out with the positives.
Let's keep like thinking good vibes on this
good
thing.
Vibes,
let's
man.
Get, keep thinking about what we enjoyed.
Yeah, let's just keep this fresh and leveled up. We can't bring it down quite yet.
I'm telling you.
My armpits are so sweaty.
Oh, fuck. I'm roasting.
I'm roasting, but I'm not roasting this movie.
Oh. So
there's a bong in the background.
I was about to say, I'm not roasting this joint, dog.
Yeah, man.
So I liked that the story held true. I thought that they had great cinematography and the characters were somewhat well done. I don't want to. Some of the characters I did like. Some of them were a little cartoony, and some of them I didn't buy into.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get into that.
But cinematography wise, and the action sequences that do happen, I thought were outstanding.
Yeah. No, that's like a big positive of mine too. Is like the action scenes, and it's not an action movie. It's definitely not like a Marvel movie in terms of, okay, there's action happening like every 15 minutes.
Well, and that's where I think the marketing fucked up, because we talked about it. I was like, all of the action scenes in this film are in the trailer.
Yeah. That was the first thing that you said right after the movie was done.
Yeah.
You're like, I think all the action scenes were in the trailer for this film.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think that they were afraid to market this as like, or do you think they were like, we're going to catch everyone off guard?
I think they're obviously they're trying to sell tickets.
Yes.
And they're trying to get asses in seats. So
Right.
they're going to put the most appealing parts in the trailer. And the parts where Batman is standing there talking to Gordon in the room with a bunch of police officers around is probably not the most visually pleasing in terms of trying to market a movie.
100%.
They were thinking, we're going to get people to probably reminisce about the Christopher Nolan Batman days. And we're going to just show all the like most exciting parts of this movie. Not that the noir, detective parts weren't exciting or weren't interesting, but obviously when you're marketing a movie, you want to put the most
for sure
visually, stimulating parts in.
I'm not, and I don't discredit that. It's how you get asses in seats. I just think that I've seen a couple films now, like Dune is one that I talk about too, where I had no idea that was the first of Plan 3, and they probably don't market it as one of 3 because they're still trying to get funding for 2 and 3.
I think it's only one of 2. I think.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Like,
but your point still stands.
Yeah, like I think there's been some mismarketing that happens, and as for me at least, it detracts because I build up kind of this other expectation. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, if it's well done, and both like Dune was well done, I like Dune. Mm-hmm. Not nearly as much as I like this one, and not to say that this is like fucking over the top, but I think the mismarketing element is where you get a lot of this reaction at, because you're conditioned to think that it's going to be one thing, and then all of a sudden Matt Reeves pulls a fucking chair out and is just pointing and laughing at you, and then it's just like, if you have the balls to get up and go, that was a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good prank.
Yeah, I can easily see people going into this movie expecting that sort of thing and then being disappointed by the end product. Like people who, like, not to generalize, but like general audiences who would give Uncharted a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, they would go into this movie having watched the trailer, amped up to go see Robert Pattinson beat some ass, and then come out of the movie thinking that the movie was not very good because it's him talking to police officers like 70% of the time.
Well, I mean, it's a noir film. I mean, it's the best. I mean, it's a detective noir film, and it's the best. They do a really good job. Like, that's why I really like it.
Yeah,
because like if it kind of had, so I hear a lot of Seven. I had like a lot of like The Watchmen. Like, I felt like with Rorschach's journals and his diary and the conflicting thoughts and the psychology behind it, I was like, this reminds me a lot of The Watchmen, where you're living in this underworld, the belly of the underworld, and you got people that are trying to do the right thing that aren't necessarily super powerful,
right?
Or, you know,
it reminded me of that too when he said specifically the line that the city is eating itself.
Yeah, right at the very the exposition, right? Where then we get into the Bat Cave with him.
Yeah, right at the beginning, which I like. I like the fact that there's like bookend narration. Like, there's narration at the beginning and the end, and nowhere else in between. Like, they just let the story play it for itself out in front of you naturally. You know, you don't need any narration like in the middle of it to explain anything. You know, it's not like you're watching.
No, and they're not feeding it to you through lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
You don't need to know. You don't have to hear it halfway through the film. Pattinson get back on and start explaining why he's upset about what he's learning.
Right. It's purely just to take us through the thoughts of the character.
Yes.
Which I enjoy.
Well, and it's setting up the character. So I think so. I mean, well, and the next thought's going to be, what do you think of Pattinson? Because this is a whole different Batman, and from kind of through some reading, I didn't like it at first. I'll say that I didn't like him at first, and then after some reading, and I was like, all right, I think they actually nailed. If that's what Reeves was going for, I mean, and this is what we have to expect. You're getting kind of a 180, on the Batman character. Which, when you start talking about different universes and us living in different, things happening in different spans of time, I thought it was I appreciated him a little bit more. Not to say that it made it any more fun,
right?
But and the dialogue at the beginning certainly helps out for you to understand this is not Playboy Bruce Wayne. He's not going to go and buy bars and
Yeah, no, it's funny that you say that about like him having that Bruce Wayne, Batman persona not really being there, because like that was a big criticism of people had with this movie, is that him as Bruce Wayne was not really any different from him being Batman, personality rise.
Right.
He was just kind of like the same brooding, kind of emo, sort of listens to Nirvana all the time Batman. But I kind of like that they did that, because it is established in the movie that he's still pretty new to being Batman. He's only been doing it for 2 years. And he's still like fairly young. He's like a younger sort of Bruce Wayne. It's Robert Pattinson. He's kind of a pretty boy, but it makes sense because he's still figuring that part of himself out. He is still like in doubts of like why he's doing what he's doing for the city of Gotham, because to him it only feels like it's getting worse, but he like keeps pushing through,
right?
Despite like what his gut's telling him.
100%, and one of the aspects I like that I read up on was the director saying, we know Batman as this ass kicking playboy that has a bunch of money and a bunch of the pieces of equipment by his side. He can do whatever he wants. He said, I wanted to take the other side of him, the one that actually dive into. He saw his parents murdered. He has his PTSD, and then his actions, he isn't sure why he's acting or doing these things based on his emotions.
Yeah.
And it's not like he went and saw a therapist about all this shit. All of a sudden he just like
he only has Alfred, and Alfred even makes a point like, you haven't like made a public appearance in like a year or something like that. Like there's a line by one of the characters that says he's like the second most reclusive person in Gotham City. He doesn't make public appearances. He doesn't go out or take care of like the Wayne Enterprise as Bruce Wayne. He's solely just acting on Batman because really that's who he is.
And that's what it's what he feels that it's what's right for him to do for his family's name. And that's what his dad would have did. So he's kind of carrying on that legacy, of the Waynes, and that's what fighting the injustices of the world. I mean, and they don't even really touch on they kind of dive into who did it, who took him out and why, but you never get that for sure answer. I would say
it's never confirmed,
right?
But you have suspicions,
and that's why you also see why he does what he does. I mean, it's obviously to take fighting injustice. I do like that he's vengeance.
Yeah,
I did like that. I mean,
that's like the running sort of one of the running themes throughout the entire movie is that he
you
pretty
get
much
reminded every time Zoe fucking Kravitz is on the scene,
right? Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of a fun nickname to have, but it's also one of those things where it's like we're gonna keep reminding you that Bruce Wayne still doesn't know right from wrong.
Yeah. I'm vengeance.
Yeah.
As opposed to justice, which is something that he learns pretty much not until like the end of the movie.
Yes.
I thought the acting was really good for most everything. There was like one thing I thought was a little weird, but I'll get into it after all the positives. So like, Robert Pattinson, great. I like Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle. Paul Dano as the Riddler. I know some people can be a little mixed on him, but I enjoyed him.
He was fantastic. I was really annoyed when the people behind us, every time he had to talk, I was like, he does it great, kind of spooky, mentally not mentally challenged, but a guy. Once again, how mental health has affected someone. Yeah, right.
Like throughout the movie, his character genuinely thought that he was teaming up with Batman.
Yes,
to take these people down, and then when he finds out that was not the case, his entire worldview is crushed, basically. And you can see like the mental wheels like turning in his head of that realization. Like his face becomes contorted, and he just becomes more and more like kind of a child in a way.
Well, this was his hero. He wanted, he was given Bruce Wayne shit, but deep down inside, he wanted to be Bruce Wayne. All those kids wanted to be Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm.
And I liked his outfit too. And especially how it like played in later with the movie with like all the different people dressing up as him at the stadium when the city floods. I thought that was really good. So
I thought that was a great great idea.
Yeah, I really the whole climax of the movie I really enjoyed.
I guess that's where we might differ.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Okay,
but I have different. I had certain things that annoyed me.
Okay.
Not necessarily, and after some reading,
not necessarily like the entirety of it.
No, it was just the yeah.
Oh, we can get into it. So what did you like? What kind of things stood out to you?
So we got him. Oh my god, we got him swinging, right, and he's doing all his shit. He takes a shotgun to the chest, which we have to, I guess, make it as real as it could to maybe the Batman's going down, because in this whole thing, you don't have which this is what I liked. Mm-hmm. You don't have the sense that he's invisible. Obviously, you got the bullets ricocheting and all this stuff in that, right? They do it where it's like you're gonna know that he can, but the fighting sequences are so freaking fast and brute fighting is what that's what I think about. Like with Nolan's Batman, he'll take down 30 dudes and it's just boom, boom, boom. With this one, it's like 8 dudes, but you really get the sense of like, all right, it's one parry, one punch, get him on the ground, then I got to kick him again. It's a lot. It felt more guerrilla style fighting than than choreographed and like how I felt with the Nolan one, right?
It was a little more messy.
Yes, exactly. So you feel that he's more human. That this isn't just a force going through you, but someone that's actually having to, adjust to the environment around him. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then in the ending, he takes the thing, and Kravitz comes up, and I think they're talking, and she doesn't know, and then someone's about to die. I don't remember if it was her or whatever. And
yeah, she's like getting choked out by like the last remaining
takes
dude.
That green vial and
which I assume is adrenaline.
So
or something.
That's what I okay, great. Like let's just fucking throw it in here. Like he's just got adrenaline I don't know if maybe adrenaline does that to you when you're on your last breath and then you just inject it and all of a sudden you're healthy again. Like it felt so video gamey to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like adrenaline to like Logan. The reason why I liked Logan is he takes that fucking shot, right? Have you seen Logan?
I have not.
Oh man.
So don't spoil anything.
I'll wait.
I'm sure a lot of people listening have not seen that movie also. So we'll.
I don't. Oh, maybe I don't know. I can't speak. I mean, I guess you were probably like 10 when it. Well, no.
No, I was of the right age, I would say. I was never into X-Men, so I never.
Oh, dude, it's another noir. It's another.
I know, but like it's weird because going off on a little bit of a tangent, like the X-Men franchise is so inconsistent. Like there are movies that are great in it. And then there are movies that are just complete dog shit.
But you can see. I mean, you watch the trailer. I mean, I won't.
I know.
So
I need to watch it. I'll watch it one day.
You'll see it. You'll know what I'm talking about. This one felt so. But then I read up on it, and there's a theory that it's Bane's venom. So what Bane uses. So Tom Hardy and Dark Knight Rises, he just had a mask that gave him the power, right? But I'm pretty sure in the comic books, Bane has a serum that gives him that superhuman strength.
Okay.
And the theory is that green vial is what Batman took from Bane. If he took Bane out or had to, mass produce the serum. And it gave him that extra strength of that, that extra human life, if you will.
Yeah. I saw this movie the first time with Gideon, and he said that one of his criticisms was he'd wish they had foreshadowed that serum earlier in the film.
For sure.
Just so that I agree with him. Not that it bothered me a whole lot. Because I liked the scene. I enjoyed what happened and what it meant and what it was going for. I don't think it bothered me as much as it did maybe you or him, but I can definitely see how that would be a valid okay, I wish they had done this before.
Well, like he said, foreshadowing, or don't have him on near death.
Yeah,
we as an audience member, I don't have to think this is because I know he's not gonna die. You know what I'm saying? It felt like the producers had a little bit of a say right there at the end, because there was a couple other things too, and I wish I could remember exactly what was going on, maybe with the guns or the foul play that was occurring. But the producers were like, all right, Matt, we got all these people here, this is the scene, let us take over, we know how to talk to the mass audience. You're a little too psychological right now, and this is so let's get a little bit of he's gonna die, the love interest is here, he sees her, God, he's oozing, is it vengeance, is it passion? We got it. And
there was I think one of the other things you might be alluding to, and I remembered it being something that I watched while it was going on, I was like, that wasn't necessary, was when the electrical box was dangling over the water.
That was it.
Yep. And he goes and he has to sever it with his little batarang or whatever that's on his chest.
All right, well, whatever he does after hours, no one said no.
But he does that, and the way they shoot it, it makes it look like he's going to die doing that, he's sacrificing himself
a little bit. Yeah.
And then he falls in the water, and then a second later he comes up and he's completely fine. It's okay, you could have had him do that, maybe not that way where it looks like the movie's gonna kill him off, because that felt a little too cheesy. But
not only
I had more of a problem with that than I did with the adrenaline.
No, both of those. That's exactly what I was talking about too. Because those are two unnecessary scenes, in my opinion, or at least scenarios that don't need to be in that film because they add nothing.
Yeah.
And what is already happening, right, in the city, if they would have ended it, take out that electrical box, and he just has to dive into the water from that height. He's not surviving. I mean, the nice thing is in this one too, you kind of have a feeling like he is more human than what Christian Bale was.
Yeah.
He could. It's I got to dive in the water from 100 feet up. I don't know if I'm going to survive this, and I have to go save those people over by the rocks. I would have been more of oh shit, here we go. I know he's not going to die, but at the same token, maybe this is another one of those things where he's just got to. My body, it's more of what I can do for these people than what my body's willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And the electrical box is just I don't know, and it feels kind of lame. Dude, when I saw that thing, I was thinking about the toaster in the water.
Yeah.
I just saw that and I was like, is this what we're going for? Right. This feels so 90s right now.
Brave little toaster.
Yeah. It's
No, I completely get that. I definitely had an issue with it, especially more so the second time watching, because I saw this movie 2 times.
Yeah.
And that one stood out to me a little more as all right, that That was kind of corny. I wasn't really latching on to that scene the way they wanted me to.
That was why I think to me at least, it felt like the producers had more to say with the ending. I think everything leading up to that,
yeah,
they were like, you got this. And then they got there and they're like, let's not have him almost die once, but twice.
Yeah. Let's have double fake outs. Yeah. Audiences love that when we treat them like they're stupid. Man. I might be stupid, but I don't like to be treated that way.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, well, they
making me sit through Matrix 4.
We don't talk about that one. They had to have that. So I mean, I think that was in terms of the ending. But I really did like the scenario that they were put in. So I actually disagree too on the Riddler side. I think that he knew what the Batman was going to do. Because he had all that set up prior to that conversation with Batman.
You knew what he was going to do, but he didn't know that the Batman wouldn't, like, he didn't know that he would rebuke him the way that he did.
You don't think so? Like, you don't think?
I don't think so.
Why would he have
then he
that
has
all
like a full
set?
mental breakdown.
Well, why would he have all that set up then?
Because he's a good like manipulator. He's a good because he knew that Batman was going to do those things in order to find him. But he didn't necessarily know that it was from the perspective of, oh, I've got to find Riddler and put him away. He thought it was more from the perspective of, oh, Batman and I are working together. And so I'm going to like leave these little like clues so that Batman can figure it out and like do the things that I want him to do.
Sure.
That was kind of like more of like where I thought it was coming from.
Maybe I'll play on the bad half that he was playing on the vengeance side, the vengeance of taking down the city.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he would have turned a blind eye when the Riddler...
Because the Riddler says, like, you've inspired me. Like, he says that to
I mean,
him, like,
I know what he
to
talks
his face.
about, and I know that they get into that argument, but the reason why I had an issue with it, he had it all planned out. Mm-hmm. He's taken down the city. So Batman comes in there and says, you know what, we are a team. It's not like he cancels all that. Like, it's going on.
Yeah, no, it's still happening.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, for him to play it off, and that's maybe where I can kind of see where maybe if you're thinking if Batman's flipping a coin right now and he's going to land on justice or vengeance, the Riddler obviously flipped it and said vengeance. Mm-hmm. And he thought that, I mean, that was like the only thing that I could kind of get on board with. So I didn't have a problem with it. I thought that when he did the whole thing with the no, I thought it was just like really good. Like, all right, like I thought maybe there might be a chance, but I'm doing this anyways. Like, you think you're going to team. I don't know. It felt, I actually liked it because like when he did all that, I was like, oh, it's this one last fuck you to Batman. Like, I knew that this wasn't going to happen. There was a slim shot it could, but I'm still taking down the fucking city.
Yeah.
So I actually, like, I still liked it, and I thought, and the atomic bomb, like, hey, we got an atomic bomb. Let's just fly it over the Atlantic Ocean and, however it goes. Like,
are you talking about the vans that go off?
When The Dark Knight Rises, like we're taking down the city. Like
okay, gotcha.
It seemed like the most lazy way of stopping that. Like,
right.
In this one, it's like I'm gonna destroy all the break walls. I'm gonna flood the city, and we're gonna, and then I'm gonna kill the mayor who promises nothing but lies. And then sure as shit, he gets almost there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, other than the mayor getting killed, his plan works.
That's what I appreciate.
He basically wins at the end,
as close as you could. I mean, as close as you could, because there's still stuff to clean up, and I guess that's kind of why I like the Gotham. Another thing I liked, Gotham in this was fucking spectacular.
I loved the city.
The
like,
world
just Gotham.
that we're in.
It felt so separated from everywhere else.
You're in Gotham. Like, you actually feel like
it didn't feel like there was a world outside of it.
That's what, yes. And it's not. So in the other ones, like, like in the ones with Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer and George Clooney, they made Gotham so cartoony, and you're living in like Disney crime land, where it's like, have you ever seen Batman and Robin with Schwarzenegger?
I haven't, but I have an idea of it.
It is so, dude, you think you do, and wait till you turn it on. It looks like if Space Jam came to life when they go to Monster Mountain. It's so right? And then in the one with Bale, they focus, it's so heavy centered on Batman and, him trying to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And Gotham is just kind of like you're like in New York City. You
Yeah,
kinda
just feels kind of like a city, like a generic sort of like
things
metropolis.
go on. I know in Batman Begins they try to do the things are worse now than ever, but you never really, because everywhere you're at, it's always following Playboy Bruce Wayne. So you see the luxurious style of it. You never really get to see that kind of crime underbelly. A little here and there when they meet up in a cafeteria to go over business, but this one
there was a grime to this.
Oh my
Gotham.
God, and how dark it was.
It was a little. It reminded me of, and obviously they're same production company, but it reminded me of how they portrayed Gotham in Joker. Gotham in that movie too was like pretty much like the same tone. It was just very grimy, crime riddled, just really dirty, and like got under your skin. Like every single corner of the city, aside from like a few like rich elite spaces, was like just really filthy.
Yep,
and that's how this movie felt too.
100%. I loved it. I mean, they made Gotham into they had politics, they had crime. They had, fucking syndicated crime. You had the drug smuggling going on. I mean, all of it.
Absolutely.
And
police corruption.
Yeah, and the one thing that I didn't like about the Nolan ones is that he kept talking about I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to trust. And they never make the police bad, right? There's always maybe one or two. All right,
yeah, no. In this movie, like half the fucking cops are corrupt.
He doesn't talk to any of them.
Any of them except for Gordon.
That's how it should be.
Yeah,
you know what? And Gordon's like, all right, I gotta keep cool with everyone over here, or else they're gonna get me. And obviously, I got the Batman that no one trusts over here that can help me out. I mean, they're using each other as resources and tools, but you definitely have that sense that you can't trust. And he didn't talk to any of the policemen.
No,
not one.
Just only to Gordon.
And I was like, and it's not like a level of respect thing. It's not like he's like, oh yeah, I'm Bruce Wayne. I have $1 billion. Fuck all you guys. I'm just using Gordon. It was like, if I tell one of these fuckers something, God knows what's gonna happen next.
Things are only gonna get worse.
Yeah,
and that's something. Another big praise I have for this movie is the tone. Just along with what you were talking about with the themes and the city itself of Gotham, just the tone, the atmosphere, just the dark, broody nature of it, how emo his character is throughout the entire thing. It can easily come across as cheesy and corny, hot topic Bruce Wayne, but I think they did it in a really effective way that didn't come across as goofy or ridiculous.
I think what the issue is that people have a hard time. So if you're if you were emo, people have a hard time if you're not like that identifying.
Yeah.
So it's, and I think it plays both ways, because I know, from my aspect, I was like a jock in high school, where
what you were. Say it ain't so.
People could easily make fun of me and just go, bah, 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 bah. Look, I'm fucking,
football.
And then you could conversely go to the oh man, I'm so sad. I just want to fucking go throw a toaster in Madison Square Garden.
I only listen to Friedrich Nietzsche and I only listen to Have a Nice Life over and over again.
So I think what it is people have a hard time with that perspective. And so I don't want to come up and say it was this way or that. I just, that how Pattinson did it is kind of how I'd see it, and if that's how I see it, it's designed more for a mass audience or a general audience, because I can't relate to that, so if I'm looking at the 10% over here and I can somewhat get on board with it, they're not hitting the 10%. They're just showing the 1% of that 10%. So I think that's where some of the polarization comes from on how Pattinson did it. It's because people can't relate or identify or have that perspective. But for, like you said, the tone of the film, the theme of the film sticks throughout.
Yes, it's very consistent.
To have the balls to do that for 3 hours, I think it was for me, I was like, all right, that's
at no point, I think until the very end, when there's a sunrise in the horizon, I don't think you see the sun throughout most of the entire movie.
It's so funny.
It's so dark and cloudy, during the day even.
Oh, dude. Well, the funniest part was when he it's right in the beginning, they talk about him being nocturnal, and Alfred opens up the blinds, and it is even for me, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he puts on the glasses and it kind of gets a little bit more dim.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I kind of like that. Like,
Yeah.
if they're playing off, like, they're really conditioning us to being able to sit through this film and, like, have it through his perspective of being out. And then, like, when it gets a little bright out, you're kind of like, Jesus, it is a little, Like, it's just kind of fun that you can have that kind of visual, the visual, not aid, but kind of
stimulation.
Yeah, and throw it back at the audience and make you feel like you're kind of walking through the shoes of I don't want to call him a Night Stalker because that's Richard Ramirez, but, someone that takes down bad guys after dark.
Yeah, yeah. It really, like, not invigorates. What's the word I'm looking for? Where it, like, sucks you in and, like you feel like you're a part of the universe, What's the word I'm looking for?
Cosmetic.
No, it's like immersed. There it is.
Immersed?
It really immerses you into the world of, like,
into
Gotham. Yeah, yeah.
It
makes you feel like Batman.
Yeah.
That's just a little joke. There's this YouTuber. He made fun of, like, a bunch of people who reviewed the Arkham games. And because every single one of them, when they reviewed that game, they said it makes you feel like Batman. And now that's like a little internet meme right there. But
nice. Well, I've gotten a couple on social media or whatever you want to call it that have said Arkham Asylum.
Yeah,
it's a good video game. We don't need to.
We don't need to get into it. But the fighting scenes, like, kind of going back to that, it reminded me a little bit of how the combat in the Arkham games is, because the way the gameplay is in those games, like, I've only played one of them, and I don't even think I beat it, just because, like, I was
a little too hard, huh?
I was playing a lot of games at the time, and that was not my
here they come
top priority. Yeah, the excuses.
Uh-oh,
all aboard the excuse train.
Yeah. Woo woo. Where's Captain Accountability at?
Oh no. Looks like he's in the caboose.
Hey, was that your Perseverance picture frame up there that you took down?
Oh. Where's the plaque? Yeah, no, it's like playing those games and, like, the combat in it, like, I was going to say it feels.
Oh, shit.
I almost did.
You're immersed yourself in this world.
Oh, it feels like you're Batman. No, it's very reminiscent of how it plays out in the movie. Yeah. Like, you can tell that Matt Reeves probably played those games and was inspired by the combat in those games for the action scenes.
I'm just imagining Matt Reeves right now getting baked, playing this in the dark.
Yeah, listening to Nirvana.
What if Batman felt how I feel right now?
Okay, speaking of Nirvana, my question for you is, how did you feel about the use of the music in this movie? Because it wasn't super noticeable for me the first time, but I felt like the second time, for the most part, I enjoyed it. But I think there were a few scenes where it felt a little like stock music-y. So like, specifically the scene when he and Catwoman are, like, riding. It's like the end when they're riding away on their bikes, and it's like it's like playing you that sort of, like, orchestral, like, oh, you're supposed to feel this way music. Yeah, like, I noticed it more the second time, and it bugged me way more than it did the first time.
I think I told our buddy that we went to see it with too. They have music throughout this fucking film. Mm-hmm. Like, so I think in the second or third scene, it might have been the murder. Like, I'm like, are they going to keep just playing music? And then it did not stop.
Yeah.
It is in the background. It is, like, sweeping. You got the orchestra. You're in a club. It's thumping. Like, there's a chase single. And I was like, the reason, personally, I think why they did it is because if you don't have that kind of, the other added elements for your cues, your senses going.
Yeah.
You will get lost in this thing. It will turn into a little bit more of a schlock, right?
Yeah.
So you have the music that kind of will keep you, like, if you're kind of drifting out, it's gonna be like, it'll play, and then it's like, oh yeah, this is a little mysterious, or like, what are they looking for, or like, oh yeah, he is pissed off, or maybe he doesn't know what to think. So the music really aids to the story that's going on, but I think they had to play it. And tell me if I'm wrong, but it is continuous. And I think if you took it out and you just played this thing throughout, it would be a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I agree for sure, but I think like some of the music choices, like
I thought
didn't really land for me. Like the scene I just said with the Catwoman him like riding together,
Dude,
like away, like this is like
the murder scene. That's the third scene. He gets up and they're playing music. There's an undertone right there with like things, and I'm like, you don't need to tell me that I need to be like feel a little in peril.
Yeah.
Like I don't need
like there was a lot of instances in this movie where music would play and it would insist on you feeling a way that you are already feeling just because of the scene. Like you didn't really need the music in
Zoe
those
Kravitz
parts.
when they're going on about like when I had to go to the bathroom and they're talking. Like I'm pretty sure there was music swelling during that scene of like, she's finally opening up and trusting you, so we're gonna get some swelling music going, and you're gonna feel the passion between these two, and it's becoming a little bit more than them being work buddies.
It's gonna crescendo at the moment that they both kiss and embrace.
Like that's what I'm. So I like some of the styles that they chose, but there was so much of it. I couldn't pinpoint a time where I'm like, oh, that's good and that's bad, because there was a lot of moments where like I enjoyed the music, like the Nirvana stuff going on, and also like the main like Batman theme of like the burr, 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 burr. Like I liked that, but some of it just felt a little stock music-y to me. That's what they played it throughout, so that's what I'm telling you. I could not. My biggest gripe, and as I say, one of the things that just annoyed me with the film was just how much they had to play it, and they had to keep you as an audience member on your toes because they mismarketed this thing. And if you don't tell someone they're going to watch 3-hour Detective Batman, they're gonna be like, what
the fuck you take me see?
The guy we were with right there, if that music isn't going on the whole time, probably falls asleep.
They turn to you and they're like, what are you showing me?
Yeah. Hey, come on now. What is this?
Speaking of Colin Farrell, the Penguin.
I had no idea. I didn't know that was him.
He was unrecognizable.
Oh my God.
They did such a good job with him.
I was looking up, I went to IMDb to look some stuff up, and I just saw Colin Farrell's in it, so I was like, when the fuck was he in this?
Yeah. They nailed the whole like, standout sort of like villain looking character without it looking too goofy. Like he still looked human.
Yes.
It wasn't like Danny DeVito.
Maybe that's because who we have to reference, but yes, 100%. I mean, he pops up and I'm like, that's a big old scar. But I was like, well, you do that in prosthetics, put some makeup on, like you're good, but I didn't know that was Colin. I still don't.
You still can't see it?
No.
I can see it a little bit in like his eyes. Like his upper face area,
right?
A little bit, but that's it. Like otherwise, every other part of him is just this. If you would have told me that was just some other actor,
oh yeah,
I would have believed you.
100%. I did. Yeah, I'm telling you, I had no fucking clue. And then I went to IMDb and then I looked at 2 pictures. I was like, I'm not gonna sit here trying to figure out if that is him. I'm gonna take their word for it now.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to the source.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, why would I call out a lie if they're gonna tell me that's him? Like maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Yeah. I liked his character too. Like not just in terms of looks, but also like how he was written and the fact that he wasn't like a central villain in this movie. He was basically just a side character, He
aided the plot.
Yeah, he did. And he served a purpose, but he felt much less involved than the Riddler, which I liked because at that point you can risk the movie becoming like too packed, with different things going on. And I like the fact that he kind of took a back seat. Yeah. Speaking of back seat, that car chase scene was pretty good too.
I did enjoy it. Yes. I thought it was, I liked it. I didn't think it was great. The only thing I didn't like was the Batmobile going off the ramp.
Oh, and
flying in the air.
Felt a little too movie moment.
I was like, I'm going to see how long he laughs for. I was like, I don't know how long a car will stay airborne.
Right.
But like, I feel like you go up maybe a second and a half, 2 seconds, and you're down. Yeah. And I was like, this laugh's going to go on way too long.
He's laughing for like 6 seconds at least. I can't wait to isolate that audio and use it later. That's going to be great.
Oh, my God.
Thank you for that.
That is a penguin laugh right there. Not even close.
No, it was not.
Spot on, Parker.
Oh, yeah, bud, you got it. Give you a thumbs up.
Yeah, no, the car chase scene was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that didn't really bother me too much. I didn't.
A little bit of scene logistics and question of how he had his car readily available, parked right there for jumping,
for the jump.
Yeah, but no, it was I liked it. I mean, I think a lot of the action sequences and stuff, I don't think they got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite scenes that I've probably seen in recent memory is him fighting in the silhouetted gunshot fight scene.
Oh yeah,
like
it's a very quick but very like visually interesting scene.
Effective, yeah, and that's what I'm talking. Like the guerrilla style fighting right there, and they didn't linger on any one thing.
Yep.
And it was the reason I liked it too is because it's driving to a point, and he is like pissed off.
Yeah.
So
I guess we can get more into like the issues that we had. We touched on a few of them already.
Sure.
For me, number one would probably be the romance.
Unneeded.
Yeah, very unnecessary.
You knew that was good from the trailer.
I like how they teased it a little bit in their first interaction when he's getting the spy gear ready and she's going to get ready in the club.
Right.
And he like looks at her for like a second too long, and then he goes, "Yep, looks good," and then he like turns away and kind of like almost blue balls her in a way. Like I kind of like that. And I wish that they had kept that same sort of tone throughout. Maybe get into it a little more.
Of
like the sort of little like back and forth. Yeah, like the got a lot of cats, that sort of thing.
Right.
And like maybe save it for like a future movie. But then like the second or third time they meet, they just like get right into it, and she like gives him a big old smooch, and he's like, "Oh, I won't say no,"
that's the one thing that I was kind of upset about when I saw it was I didn't know it was gonna be 3 hours until about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn it, because I knew that they're gonna have this thrown in romantic interest going on.
Yep.
It could have been a lot worse.
It could have.
I'll say that, but it was kind of, that's one of the things. I was ready for that, so I just knew that was gonna happen. It was gonna be useless, and I'm actually, honestly, I wish they didn't have that motorcycle fucking scene at the very end.
Yeah.
If you take that out, I'd be like, there it is. That's all we needed. Selena Kyle, we'll see you later. Hey,
yep.
nice
they
to meet
say
you.
Goodbye, and then they ride next to each other for like probably 5 minutes.
Sweeping music, and then it's like, well, this is where we part ways.
Yeah,
and then he just kind of watches her for a second, and then he's like, gotta go save the city.
Beep, beep, and rides away.
I mean, it's like, it was funny too, because like, I thought they were gonna kind of do like one of those like 90 romance things where they're kind of bobbing and weaving in front of each other, and it's kind of symbolic of the chase that they have. And then like she would like they'd kind of get together, and it's like, all right, like however it would have turned out, I was kind of interested, and then and I'm like, all right, if they would have taken that scene out, that would have saved 3 minutes, probably $500K, and unnecessary. Like, I got the gist. They did a little bit of the over the top, just a little bit with some of the scenes, and really hammering it home that
making sure like you got what it was going for.
They weren't just together to fight crime; they loved each other. Like and
epic.
So. But that one I saw coming. I mean, did you from the trailer?
I kind of knew it was going to happen, but I still wish that it, wasn't.
Right.
I would have rather that not take place.
It would have been more fun if they had kept the chase kind of going for each other, and alluding to it.
Yeah, like set it up for future movies at least, like establish more of a repertoire between the two.
I mean, kind of how the characters go with and all these things. I mean, they never get together. So, I mean, it's just like you might as well just have that chase. So I wouldn't say alluding to more, but you definitely leave open the possibility that she could come back.
Yeah.
And that there's still maybe a connection there that they just never fully like tapped into. Because if she ever does pop back, they're probably going to bump uglies in whatever future, which those two, not bad.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Moving on. So another issue that I had, which was like one of my more major ones, is the fact that for some fucking reason, specifically for superhero big franchise movies, they feel obligated to set up future movies with these little teaser scenes that you get.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And it can just be really fucking janky and not fit in at all. And I really didn't like the scene with Riddler and Joker.
Agreed.
I like take that out of the movie. Movie would have been better for it. Like, And I looked it up later who played the Joker because I thought they got like some no-name guy to do it.
No, it's a big name.
It's Barry Keoghan from
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk, Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Yep.
Eternals. The Eternals.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no, great. But
fucking sellout.
Yeah.
Sorry for listening, Barry.
You shill. You Warner Brothers shill.
Fucking fascist.
Yeah, first you're a shill for Disney, now you're a shill for Warner Bros. What are you going to be in Matrix 5 now?
Whoa. Guys just trying to get paid, dog.
God, I hope not. We don't need that.
We don't need another Matrix movie.
We did not need the last Matrix movie.
No, actually probably the last 3.
Yeah, just the one. Would have been fine. Would have been okay. No, the that scene I really did not like at all.
That was I think you're part of
it. Felt way too cheesy. It felt really unnecessary.
Shoehorned,
very shoehorned.
Yeah,
way too shoehorned.
The problem that you're gonna run into is that you're just not gonna be able to replace Heath Ledger. So he did such a fantastic job, and not like Joaquin style. You know,
right,
it's a standalone character, but in terms of where he fits in so in that, dude, unless he nails that, like, unless it sounds like Heath Ledger coming out and he nails the laugh and he says something maybe a little darker than what he said, because that was even bizarre dialogue.
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing was just weird.
It's like for some reason they put that part in the movie, and then like just the quality drop off overall was very steep. And then that scene gets done, and they go back into, like, you know, the scene with...
The denouement of this sucked. It was awful. It was just really bad. It was all... I'm telling you, dude, the last 30 minutes were producers.
Yeah.
They were like, we got to get this set up. And Matt Reeves... I bet you Matt Reeves, if you find him or get him baked, we'll just talk about how fucking awful what they did to his film was for the last 30 minutes.
Right. I agree completely. That was another big issue.
Well, his laugh was awful. The dialogue
The laugh
was
made me
bizarre.
cringe. It honestly made me cringe.
As soon as he started talking, you kind of knew that it was going to be the Joker.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, what's he going to say? Maybe this is going to be... I was actually thinking it might be a Hannibal Lecter moment where he gets the Riddler to kill himself. I was like, how dark the movie was, and now...
Would have been more interesting.
Well, they're setting up... You'd be setting up the Joker big time with that. The Riddler just fucking stumped Batman throughout all the shit, and all of a sudden the Joker comes in and gets him to, like, off himself. Like, you know? So, and then they just... Some weird dialogue with the weird... It was more of a clown laugh, I guess. So, I don't know.
Yeah. It felt more like... Because Heath Ledger's Joker feels more psychotic. Like, he's very, like, kind of... he's almost reserved in a way. He's, like, just creepy.
Yeah.
Whereas that Joker felt very cartoonish and more like kind of the animated Batman
When
movies.
you heard that, did you think of the big red nose and the clown feet? Like, you couldn't see him, but you could just hear that voice. And you obviously project the image when he starts talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought more of, like... Honestly, it made me think it was like a CW quality sort of thing, like a CW show.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Like, oh, it's the Gotham TV show or whatever.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
No, you're 100%. Because he did that, and I was like, oh, maybe the Joker's like 17 in this.
Yeah. He felt like he was fucking 15 years old.
Yeah, I was like, maybe he hasn't figured out how to be the Joker yet.
But I mean, it is Barry Keoghan, and he already looks like he's 12, so...
Who knows? That. I'm hoping that there's going to be... They might have did it, too, for like a... so instead of doing like a tester, you know, with the test audience or whatever you call that, the group... focus group?
Quality assurance.
Yeah, the focus group. Like, how does this let Matt... And you're only asking 12 people. He's going to have, you know, $500 million to figure out if the guys fucking liked his laugh or not, or if they think, like, how do we spice him up now?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be enough reviews as to where they can critique it. So it might have been a cheapie to get more of a, this is our audience, let's figure out, you know, how to kind of craft. Because it's going to be Heath Ledger, dude. It's going to be hard to beat that. And if you make a film and he's half of it, you don't hit that. It's not.
So it's over.
I mean, you know, and it's not like they're not going to make money. It just might not be as successful as what The Dark Knight was. And if they're really trying to go for that, so, you know,
we'll see how they handle it in the future movies, I guess. Because Arpat said he's willing to do more. So, you know,
he probably had fun doing it. And
I'm sure.
From the stuff I've read, that I mean, it kind of. I mean, he really wanted the role.
He had more fun doing it than he did Twilight. That's for sure. Yeah. Have you watched interviews where he just basically shits on Twilight the entire time?
we were talking about watching Twilight, and I'm like, I'm not watching that shit. Like, I'm just not. I can't watch it. I was like, Robert Pattinson is so disgusted with himself for doing this. Like, looking back on it now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's crying when he sees like his bank account.
Dude, well, it was a big money grab. I mean, come on, it's Pattinson. It's like a second major film or first major film, but like,
it's weird how people. I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
Sorry.
you're good.
Go ahead.
No, that's all. I mean, I've read some stuff on him. He really wanted the role, and I think he could tap into a little bit of that emotional distress that Bruce Wayne. Maybe not so much as seeing your parents get shot and killed cold blooded, but a little bit of maybe how the producers. That's what they did to him when they came out with him in Twilight.
Right. Yeah, it's funny that because like there are so many people, like general audiences, that still see him as the Twilight guy. Like they don't know.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They don't know any of the other movies he's been in like after. Oh, the jacket's coming off.
It's got it, man. You're right. I'm pitting out.
I guess we can. I'll mention it when we get into our next movie. But,
yeah, 100%, dog.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's amazing how like people just haven't heard of like all the other movies he's been in since Twilight. Lighthouse, Devil All the Time, Tenet, which I guess Tenet is more of like kind of a blockbuster, but
well, but
not as many people.
Yeah,
saw
but I'm gonna tell you right now, for him to come out in Tenet and break this typecast, huge. Jude Law had to do the same thing.
Yeah, he's been in like tons of other movies that have like really sort of like put him on the map of being like a competent actor.
He's good.
Like
he's a good actor.
Really, like honestly, he's like one of my favorites now. I would say.
Because
he only like elevates a movie when he's in it.
He does it. He's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Did we have anything else to say about the Batman? We're kind of running a little long on this one, but it's 3 hours. So
well, we touched on it. I mean, I didn't like the ending. The music was not a killer, but definitely could have been less. And then some of the choices. But other than that, I mean, it stayed true to what it was going to do, and the cinematography was gorgeous. And Gotham, dude, Gotham was just. They finally hit Gotham on the head.
Yes. The tone was excellent and consistent.
Yeah,
very much.
And they make the city, like what Scorsese does in New York. I mean, he always makes New York a character of itself.
I was gonna say it feels like a character.
Yeah.
In its own right,
and it never has before. And I think it's always burned Batman. It's the same with kind of like Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that sense, I mean, like for me, I'll say this. I never thought about Spider-Man as your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. It was always he's saving New York. He's saving. So it was always bigger than what he was. And then finally the Holland stuff, and we kind of talked about it. I was like, oh, I finally get that gist of it. He's only his own little slice of life here.
Yeah.
Protecting only so much, you know? You never felt that way, I don't think, with Bruce Wayne and like in The Dark Knight. You never think have you seen them?
I've seen The Dark Knight.
Okay, so in The Dark Knight, I don't think there's ever a question of him saving the city.
Yeah,
right.
It's a very kind of like I wouldn't even say personal, just sort of like a I don't know
moral. It's a moral compass.
Yeah.
Like he's doing it for He's got to do the right things, even
like a big part of the struggle is like the decisions he has to make as a character,
right? And that's what I'm saying. So you're looking at the Batman in that sense, but you never got the city. So I can't. I'm just telling. I had this revelation a couple of days ago, and I just was like, I really liked what they did with Gotham, and they made it. I mean, dude, you turned in the media, political news, syndicated crime. They hit all of it. How it's all roped in together.
Yep.
And how they peddle drugs and how it impacts, authority, the police force, local government. Like, you took this little area and made it's Gotham. Mm-hmm. It's its own place. And you really made it its own fucking place.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard to do, and they did it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Okay. What would you rate it?
So, I'm going to stick with my original rating, and I think I did this on IMDb, but it's a high 7 to an 8.
Okay.
For the ending and some of the things that I did not like, and the music, it held me up. Being a 3-hour movie that I was not anticipating was another one too, where I think it brings it down just a little bit, because I don't want to say it didn't hit expectations, because it definitely goes 180, right?
Yeah.
But if you're, like I said with Dune, if you're expecting 3 hours of action and you get to see some of the kick-ass scenes, the action scenes, but that's all you get, like, all right, I was not, but for them to completely flip it on me like that and keep me entertained, like for me, it was a hand clap. So yeah, I high 7 to an 8.
Yeah, I think I would be around the same range, 8 out of 10. Really good movie overall. Obviously some issues like the romance, the cringy, forced sort of setting up a franchise scene with the Joker.
Yeah.
Some of the music stuff I wasn't a huge fan of. And also there was a few times where I felt the pacing of the movie, or not the pacing, but just like the runtime.
Yes.
Like just the length. Like a couple moments where I was like, this is a 3-hour long movie. And
especially on the second viewing, because you already know what's coming.
I felt like it was a little bit better on the second viewing.
Oh, really?
A little bit. Because I had that expectation of what it had to get through.
Yeah.
Whereas like the first time I was like, all right, there's some scenes that are a little slow. Not that they're bad, but I definitely feel the length of this movie.
Yes.
For sure.
Yep.
So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. Pretty much around the same range.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
There we go. Booyah. We saw the Batman.
We saved Iraq. Speaking of saving people.
Whoa.
We watched a movie that you recommended.
Yes.
Called Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes, sir.
I did not know it was a John Carpenter film until I started watching it and his name popped up. I was like, oh.
Him and Kurt Russell back at it, dude. They got the
again.
Thing.
For the third time?
Escape from New York,
The Thing, and then Big Trouble in Little China, which this came out after The Thing, right? The Thing was 1982. Yes. This was 1986.
I believe so.
Okay.
And I think it might have preceded Escape from New York. I don't. It's close.
Escape from New York was 81.
81. So it went Escape from New York, The Thing, and then
that.
Yeah. So I mean, from what I read, I'll drop the. I can do the synopsis on it.
Okay.
Essentially we follow. It's Kurt Russell, and he's a trucker, and he's making shipments and going around, and you kind of hop into it, and he's a character. You immediately off the get know that he's a fucking character, and he gets into Little China in San Francisco and meets up with a buddy. He's gambling, he's drinking. You kind of know that he's got a certain ambiguity on his moral compass, if you will, and he talks to his buddy. His buddy loses some money and tells him that he has this girl that he's known since kindergarten that is coming back home. And they're going to get married, and they go to the airport and some bad guys show up, capture the girl, and pretty much from there, I mean, it takes off. And one of the things, and it's not spoiling it or anything, if you go into it, because it's going to happen quick, supernatural forces ensue in this chase of finding Miao Yin. And it pretty much goes from there, and you dive into a little bit more of the mythology of some Chinese history. I don't know. I think some of the stuff is predicated on some like mythological fairy tale creature. Like, I don't know what you fantastical.
Yeah, just some sort of just mythology in general, which I definitely got the sense of watching this movie. Yeah, just throughout the entire thing. I watched this movie, and I will say this is like probably one of the more like faster paced films I've seen in a while. It goes, and I enjoyed it for the most part, but there were some scenes, especially the dialogue scenes where they're talking to each other, where I'm like, okay, it's going so fast, like sometimes I miss what they're saying.
Oh, really?
And like what they're trying to get across. I'm like, okay, I get what they're trying to do, but like there are some things that just go over my head because of how fast paced it is. And I'm like, holy shit, it just does not stop.
It really, I mean, now that you say it is pretty unrelenting.
Like it honestly felt like I was watching the movie at 2 times speed at times. I was like, Jesus, like there's no breathing room here.
I was about to say, coming off from watching Batman, definitely feels like a tortoise in the hare. Yeah. I think if you'd watched like John Wick and
this
then
movie's
came
fucking
into it,
Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
But so okay, well, first off, I mean, just Kurt Russell, Carpenter meet up, right? Mm-hmm. And Carpenter Kurt Russell, one of them kind of looks at each other, and he goes, "Listen, man, you're gonna put me in this thing. Like this could be a flop. Are you sure you want me to do it?" And it was Kurt Russell talking to Carpenter, like, because his name still wasn't that well known, I guess, right? And Carpenter he's like, "I just like working with you, man. I want you in this film."
Mm-hmm.
Like that was it. Like, and that's kind of and I really appreciate you get a lot of the positivity.
Yeah,
or they work well together.
You got a good sense that this movie was just like fun for them.
Yes,
like it was just a lot of fun for them to like make, and they just kind of went all out with it.
Yes,
especially the scene. So we're gonna go into spoilers for this movie. The scene where they get into, I guess you can call it Little China, like where they're at when they enter like that sort of almost mythological realm. Yeah. Where like the street gangs come upon each other and they start fighting in the street around his truck, and it's like, holy shit! Like that's when the movie like ramps it.
Oh
like,
yeah,
the pacing of like the first, I would say like 15 minutes maybe. Like it's pretty normal pace. It's him like talking to his friend. He's gambling. Which I sent you that picture of the guy who looks like Ned from Spider-Man.
Yes. And as soon as you sent it to me, and I was like, oh man, I was like, that's quick.
It fucking looks just like him, in my opinion. I'll put a picture in the video. But that scene happens, and then like the girls get kidnapped. By the street gangs, the evil street gangs. I don't remember what their names were. But the bad guys essentially. So she gets kidnapped by the bad guys.
The black hats.
Yeah, the black cats. The girl that's like meeting like with his friend, that his friend is gonna marry.
Mao Yin.
Yeah, she gets kidnapped, and then they chase after her or whatever. Still like a relatively like normal pace scene for the situation that it's in. And then they get to the alleyway, and they like. The street gangs meet up around his truck and they start fighting each other. And it's like, holy shit, this movie's just fucking ramping it.
Yeah.
And it does not stop throughout the entire thing. It just keeps going.
It really, there are like some slow points for you to catch your breath.
Very few.
But even then, when you are, like when it slows down, the dialogue kicks up.
Yes. The dialogue is
definitely feel the frenetic pace and the high stakes, if you will.
Yeah.
It's
very like just quick pace. If you miss something, you weren't keeping up, like it's your fault, And at times I liked it. At times it kind of like took me out of it, especially like the dialogue parts where I was like, I definitely missed something. And I feel like if I rewind it, it's just going to be very tiring for me to like try to get back through it. Because like this movie... At times, it felt like it wore me out. I'm like, oh boy, like I need to take a breather.
I'm going to say this. So it's definitely not for younger audiences. So watching this again, I definitely picked up, I was like, the action sequences in this are so dated, especially if you're so used to like John Wick.
Right.
Like this is not even close. So that really takes anyone out. It took me out. And I love this film. And I was like, man, I kind of forget about some of these like action scenes, like people getting thrown through walls. I mean, it's not, and then it's a little cartoony.
Yeah.
With some of the fighting that's going on, or some of the cosmetics or the prosthetics, that happen.
Yeah.
So you get taken out a little bit with some of that stuff, and it definitely has an 80s feel to it. So I mean, when you're talking, like I said, I mean, it's a 40-year-old film now,
right? And like the fighting scenes, I enjoyed. Like for the most part, like I really didn't have an issue with them, and I took into account the fact that it is an older film, and they were limited to what they could do at the time.
Yeah.
Naturally comparing it to The Thing, the movie that he made with Kurt Russell before.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Well, I can in terms of like the dialogue scenes, because the dialogue scenes in The Thing felt very like kind of just natural, very situational.
Yeah, but it's two different.
They're different movies, but I can compare the two. I feel like just because same guy.
Yeah, but I mean, it'd be like I'm gonna compare Halloween to Big Trouble in Little China. Like that's not. Yeah. John Carpenter directed both. Like I'm saying, like it's you're talking two different, totally tonal movies, and
right. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the I'll get it out of the way right now. The main issue I had with this movie was the dialogue scenes. Like I really couldn't like. I really couldn't like gel with it, I guess.
So if you don't, I think, yeah.
Like,
if I had to guess, because I'm not gonna lie, I don't. If you don't relate to, not relate, but if you don't like Jack Burton, this movie is not gonna work for you.
Well, it's not like I didn't like him as a character. Like, you know, I think a lot of my enjoyment of him is Kurt Russell. The fact that it is that it is just like basically him. You know, it doesn't feel like he's really playing that different of a character than he did in like The Thing. You know, honestly, his character in freaking Escape from New York was more different than this.
And this, he doesn't really fight anyone. I mean, when he gets into these tough scenarios where he's supposed to win or take someone out, I mean, he at one point when he goes into charge, he knocks himself out.
Yeah, that's true. I guess.
I mean, and then there's another scene where he's going to fight. He finally gets into it at the end. He's taking this potion. He's ready to go. He's feeling invincible. And he gets in there, and the first guy that he actually does meet, he stabs, and the guy falls on him, and he struggles to get him off of him. While everything is chaos around him, and they're fighting. Mm-hmm. He's a lovable buffoon in this, and he's almost like the dude in this thing, where he's pitted up. He's in this world he's got no reason to be in. He's the main character, and yet he can't fight. I mean, if you watch him, they don't do any kung fu.
Yeah,
he like, I think he throws a couple punches here and there. He doesn't take out. The only guy that he really takes out is Lopan, and he happens just to catch the knife. And the best part about it is the first time when he's got the gal, you're like, oh, that's it. And he just fucking whiffs and hits the gong. And then he does like one of those like, fuck. You know, like he's not really meant to be in this world. So I mean, it's almost like you're watching a dude, like an anti-hero.
Yeah, no, you're right. So, I forgot about that. I'm just a fucking idiot. So.
No, I'm saying like watching this, honestly, I had no idea, because like when I watched this, I mean, so you know, me and my brother, my dad showed this to us when we were like 8 or 9.
Right.
I mean, like we were super young. We watched this, and we just like Jack Burton, you know, and then. Like The Big Lebowski, it took me a couple years, and then I think like in 2013, 2012, there's a you remember Gangnam Style?
Oh, I can't forget it.
There's a parody music video called David Lopan Style.
Okay.
And so like we started watching that, and it really brought my love back for this movie. And then so I started watching Jack Burton. Jack Burton is so rich. And what he talks about and his sort of bravado and this freaking, I mean, he reminds me just of like a Midwestern guy.
Yeah.
This sort of ill-placed confidence, if you will. I mean, he's a truck driver and he wins $1,000 and he's like, we're fucking taking over the world, baby. Let's go.
No, you're right. I for some reason, I don't remember a whole lot from this movie. Like, even though I watched it like only a few days ago, like my memory for some reason is fleeting. Early onset Alzheimer's. I don't know what's going on.
No, I mean it's one of those. If you don't relate to anyone in this thing, it's not
think
gonna
a lot
be.
Of it. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just the fact that like I didn't really like, because I like this movie overall. Like I thought it was good. Mm-hmm. Like I thought it was a lot of fun. Obviously, it didn't take itself too seriously. It's very tongue in cheek and you know, very like 80s style sort of thing. I just, for some reason, man, I don't know what it is. I have a harder time connecting with older movies than I do newer films.
You're not
like, I don't know what it is. It's just
I'm getting roasted on Facebook because I keep bringing up these old films. I'm like, they're fun films. Like I'm telling you right now, there are movies that are designed where you have to relate to a character, and if you don't get on board with them, you're gonna be SOL. And this movie, I think, is at now, okay, it's schlocky, if you will, that if you don't like because you have to, like, you're talking about the dialogue, he's in 90% of the scenes. Yeah, like so that's what I'm saying. Like if you don't like him, you're not gonna connect, and it's just gonna get lost on you. And I like when I was watching it, I actually looked over. I was watching with someone. I said, I don't know if Kyle's gonna like this, because halfway through it, well, the fighting scenes, I didn't realize for some reason, I didn't think that they were like that bad. They're bad for like a good reason. Like I can look
They're
back.
Goofy.
It's nostalgic. Right. And nostalgic is a problem if it's not nostalgic to someone else.
I was going to say, that's another reason too, I think. It's because like I don't have that connection with this, like that childhood connection with this movie that a lot of people do. You know, Gideon, I told him that we were going to talk about this movie, and his first thing that he said was, "Oh, my dad loves that movie." Yeah. And of course, you know, his brother makes a comment on the Facebook post about us watching Big Trouble in Little China, and he's like, oh, I just showed the wife this, one of my favorites. You know, it's one of those things that I feel like if you didn't grow up with this movie, you might not appreciate it as much as someone like you or someone like Gideon maybe, or like his family. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing that you do appreciate it that way.
No,
because you have a completely different perspective on it than I do.
However, it's like if you like steak. Some people don't like steak. It's like, man, I'm glad you like steak. I don't like that steak. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy that you do.
Mm-hmm. Just different tastes, I guess.
Yeah. I found out that this has more of a cult following. So it's turning like into more of like a Big Lebowski syndrome. Mm-hmm. And Jack Burton. I mean, and that's the one thing that I will argue, though, is that I think anyone could relate to Jack Burton as a character, and he remove him or take him and put him in modern day times right now, that character would still live.
Yeah.
He's not outdated. So that's half of it too. So I think that some of it, the nostalgia behind the movie itself holds up, but the character of Jack Burton is one of the reasons why this is my top 5. Mm-hmm. Because I love, and I couldn't.
Yeah. I'm not saying like, I'm gonna backpedal. I'm gonna take back my comment of like him being similar to the Thing character, because he's not. You know,
it's not even close.
I mean, they're different characters.
I don't want to sit here, but I'm
gonna retcon that. Hell, I might even edit it out. Who knows?
Like you can't. I would. This movie is totally. So one of the things about
it is very different.
Well, one of the things about it is that so it's a Western, right? You got a good guy. He goes into a town. That truck might as well be a horse. Right, and he's riding into.
He's very emotionally attached to that truck.
I mean, it's and he's riding into a town, and he's got to defeat the powers of evil, and he gets his sidekick buddy, and it's actually funny too because they do a little role reversal where, even though he's the main character, the story centers around Wang. It's Wang going through all the growth and the changes. It's his journey.
It's his girl that he's got to save. It's his fight that he's got to do.
And he's the one.
He's the one that's kicking most of the ass in the scenes.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's where. And then so what happened was Carpenter got the script for it, and there's a couple movies that came out. Now the reason why it's interesting to me is just because when it came out at the time, they wanted to make like a modern contemporary Western, and they were kind of a movie called Zoo came out. All right, and this is modeled heavily around that.
Interesting.
But they said, let's take it, and instead of having it, and I don't know if it was a futuristic land or I don't know exactly where Zoo was taking place at. They said, like, let's take it and we'll just place it in San Francisco. And we're going to take some of this mythological aspects of it and what's gone on with some of these supernatural folklore tales that go on, and we'll just bring it in here and let's just get a guy that has no reason to be involved with any of this shit and plug him in there. And I think I appreciate that because it reminds me a lot of the Lebowski.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, it's just, it's a person stumbling through a scenario that they have absolutely no fucking right to be in.
Yeah. And then just dealing with it the best they can.
And you can have that and really mess that up too. Like, I think that there are other movies like that where the characters are not that rich.
Yeah.
Are well portrayed. And I think why Kurt Russell nails it in this is because him and Carpenter have history together.
Right.
And John Carpenter probably gave him carte blanche.
It's like peanut butter and chocolate with those two.
Yeah.
You get those two together, it's like just a natural. It's just a natural combination.
Yep.
It's like Quentin Tarantino and feet.
Oh my God, yes.
I didn't hate. Excuse me. I didn't hate this movie. There are things about it that I really enjoyed. Like I liked how goofy the fight scenes were. Mm-hmm. I liked how just sort of over the top, like 80s, like kung fu. You can tell that it was very heavily inspired by like kung fu.
Yes.
And like those old types of movies. And just like the mythology of like China and like different sort of things going on with like the themes there. I like that aspect of it. I like the set designs a lot.
Yeah.
Like the set designs were very fun, very eye-catching. There was never like maybe like aside from like the beginning like market, there was never really like a dull set that I saw in this movie. Like, and even
the market
that was like just, it was a good like intro, I guess, but like,
it's compared grimy, it was dirty, it was raining out. I mean, I shouldn't
compared to like the rest of the stuff in the movie.
100%.
It just gets better in my opinion. Like the further it goes on with like the set designs and like everything going, no, I really liked that. Like the locations. You know, a lot of the characters were fun. Like I liked Wang. I did like Jack Burton. Even though to me he was just like, you know, it's Kurt Russell. I like Kurt Russell. You know, wasn't huge on the romantic interest for Kurt Russell. Like I don't remember what her
Kim
character.
Cattrall.
Yeah, she was a little
Gracie
like
Law. She was a lawyer.
Yeah.
Grace Law.
Grace Law. She was a little much for me. Like just her character specifically and like the stuff that she said. But I guess other than that, like, you know, wasn't really like too much else, I guess. Like I you know, enjoyed this movie for what it was. It's very goofy, very cartoony. Yeah, could easily tell that it's like a cult classic movie. I was looking this up, and so it had like a budget of like, let's say 25 million, because it says like 19 to 25 million.
Sure.
And only made like 11 million at the box office, but then it, you know, got released on home video. A bunch of people bought it that way.
Yeah.
And so that's how it sort of became like a cult classic.
So one of the things that happened with maybe not, I don't think it was the marketing, but when this movie came out, a lot of protesting going on within the Asian American community, and the lack of Asian females being represented with speaking lines, and the fact that this is in the title, it's Little China, you know, and yet no Asian Americans really speak in this.
Right.
And John Carpenter in this like little interview I read, it was him and a bunch of everyone was just in it, Russell, and he's like, you know, if we come out, we're getting this thing released out in the theaters, and he goes, we're getting fucking picketed. It's like, what do you guys want? Like okay, like it's not supposed to revolve around them, you know, it's around that. And he goes, the only Caucasian we had in it was Russell as a male.
Yeah.
He goes, everyone else was an Asian American male speaking.
He's a bumbling character.
Yeah, he looks like a fucking idiot. He can't even fight. And it's like, we make him look like a freaking Western, you know, anti-hero. And from reading it, it was kind of like one of those things where it's like, we're going to nitpick to fucking nitpick.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying that it should or shouldn't be that way, because I know there's a lot of concerns now with, like, if you're representing a community or culture, like, you should have someone from that community or culture representing what they've gone through, right? And, you know, this is the 80s too, which kind of blew my mind that they were picketing this thing, but it sounded like there was a lot of negative press, and that I'm guessing that this community, or the Asian American community, did their best to try to get this thing to tumble.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, there's a lot of I guess like history behind it then, you know, with the like production and stuff. I wonder too if some of it had to do with The Thing being kind of controversial when it came out, right? Because when that came out, I was reading about this, but I didn't really like mention it in our like Thing discussion where I guess like when the movie came out, like it was very like controversial because of how violent it was. Yeah. And how like the special effects were. And people really didn't like take to the movie when it first came out. Like they were like disgusted by it. You know, it kind of became like a controversial thing. So I wonder if people saw the name John Carpenter and associated it with that too.
I would not be shocked.
Yeah. I
mean, like,
obviously it's just speculation, but it's,
I mean, and I don't know much about that, but I could definitely see The Thing being mismarketed, or not maybe mismarketed, but not marketed in the way that you would expect, you know, violence, or expect kind of what you're going to see. And it's like, it's, well, and that too. So Carpenter had, I mean, prior to that, I know he had Escape from New York and Halloween, and Halloween's kind of, it's, I don't want to say silly violent, but it's definitely, I mean, it's a cat and mouse horror.
Right.
You know, and there's a couple of bad scenes in it, and then Escape from New York is definitely like in a different world. But at least in that, the guy's name's Snake Plissken. He's got a tattoo, and he probably takes a shot at some point, and you're like, oh, this guy. And he's holding an Uzi. So it's definitely not misconceived about what you're going to walk into. Right. The Thing being a supernatural horror in Antarctica, who the fuck knows?
Right.
You know, and then this one, Big Trouble in Little China with Jack Burton. I mean, like, you're kind of going into this thing and you're going to see Kurt Russell acting like Kurt Russell, but he's got a gun and kicking ass. You know, so it's interesting. I mean, Carpenter, dude, fucking counterculture motherfucker.
Would you say that Because, The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China are like in your top favorites. Would you say that John Carpenter is one of your favorite directors?
So I think he's one of my more respected. I don't have like I don't know. I can't say that. I mean, he probably, but like there are, I would have to venture more misses than hits. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't like the schlocky. I don't like the kind of the prosthetics, the costume design, the sets, and all that, where they make it look like. I mean, there's one point in this thing where they're fighting, and there's a humorous fight where Wang's getting chased by the guy at the end after they kill Lopan, and they're kind of throwing things in the air, and it's like this isn't that's not kung fu. I mean, this isn't a fight scene. I know that maybe they're trying to be silly and funny about this, and it plays into the tone of the movie, but like I never watching this, I actually got pulled out a little bit with that. So that's why I'm saying like some of the stuff, but there are elements that he has for me that's why this movie is in my top 5, just because of Jack Burton and the silliness, the cartoonness, and you're taking this baffable character and putting him in a, like I said, situation, and he's got all these fantastic lines and his overzealous confidence, if you will, like just stupid. Like you're a truck driver. Yeah. Remember? And he goes at the very end, he doesn't go to kiss Gracie Law.
Yeah, it feels like he hasn't changed as a character at all.
None whatsoever. And she goes, "You're not going to even kiss her?" And he looks back, he goes, "No, I'm not." And then she goes, "See you around, Burton." And he goes, "Yeah, we'll see." Or something like that.
Yeah.
Never can tell. And he just walks out. And it's just that stupid fucking, he's got it throughout the whole film.
That's what also makes it feel more like a Western too, is because like it just feels like an isolated episode of a TV show that's just stretched out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's just moving on to the next town.
There we go. Got my truck back. It's a little pork chop.
Not going to go to like the police or anything. Just kind of, hey, I'm moving on.
When that 8-foot bastard takes the top of your favorite head and pins you against the wall and asks you, "Have you paid your dues, Jack?" "Yes, sir, I have. Check is in the mail." I was watching that. I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah. He's just saying nonsense.
Oh, dude.
So I really liked the music in this movie too. I thought John Carpenter, like he did the music,
yes.
Right?
I'm pretty sure he does. There's actually 2 songs I just liked on Spotify.
Yeah. Like it says John Carpenter and Alan Howarth.
Yeah.
Howarth. Alan Howarth. That's a mouthful of a name. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the music in this too. Very like 80s, kind of like synthy.
It's funny that you say that, because I was going to text you, I think, after I got done with it. I was going to ask you, like, I was like, what did you think about the sound? Because I kind of ruled out the film. I was like, what did you think about the soundtrack?
Yeah. You were just excited to talk about it. You're like, what'd you think of this?
Well, I was just thinking, because the ending hits, and I'd never heard it before. It's called like the Big Trouble in Little China theme song. Like, I don't even know what it's called on Spotify. And I started, like, I'm listening to it, and I was like, dude, this kind of vibes. And then there's another one on Spotify, it's just Pork Chop Express theme, and I'm playing. Then I was like, fuck, this is very synthy, like little, like kind of poppy but grimy, Like I don't exactly know. Like probably like a speakeasy nightclub.
Yeah, it's very like kind of upbeat almost sometimes.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. Like, that was probably one of my favorite parts of the film, for sure.
Carpenter like has his whole hand. Maybe he is. I don't know, because I mean he did the soundtrack for that too. I'm pretty sure, like or at least collaborated on it.
It felt like he definitely had like his finger on the pulse of that specific time, and just like knew what was popular, knew what people like were going for, at least in terms of like, just style and music, and just like went for it.
And I'm gonna say this too, though. I mean, he took some of he could have easily had a lot of kung fu in this, right? So I mean, like I don't know if he did it for intents and purposes of kind of with Jack being the way he is, that we're not gonna make this into that. We're gonna kind of make it a little cartoony. Like, I don't think he would. I would hope that he wouldn't slap that audience in the face. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, we're gonna make this just fun to be fun. Where it's kind of like I I would almost feel that just with his brain, he had a little bit more behind the intention of what he was putting down.
Yeah.
You know, maybe because of there's some supernatural forces with the folklore. It's like, let's not take this too seriously.
Yeah.
You know, let's not be the Dark Knight here.
Yeah. Because if you take it too seriously, it could almost, it could be worse.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, then it's just you're laughing at the movie for the reasons that, you know, the director didn't intend.
Yes.
You know?
And there are some...
You're just laughing at how bad it is.
You could, I was about to say, because you could flip it on its head too. Because I mean, like, and that's what I'm saying with Carpenter films. Like, I feel like there's a little bit more behind the costumes, if you will, than you know, with where it's at now. Like The Thing. I mean, like for 1982, that was probably like really sick to watch that. You know.
Yeah.
But for 2022, like, we've probably seen a million times better that you can do with CGI. You know, so there's a certain appreciation that you have for it, but at the same token, it's not visually, aesthetically pleasing because you know that it could be done better.
Right.
So I think that's where I'd probably fall off a little bit because, like, in this one, like the giant eye. I mean, they had to figure out that, and they couldn't CGI that thing. So they created it. They said there was a shit ton of motors in that thing. It was a hand puppet.
Yeah, no.
They had it waving around.
You could definitely tell it was a practical object.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, for the time, like that was probably like, and actually for me too, I was like, man, how'd they even do that? You know, like the first couple times I saw
when you're a kid watching it, you're like, holy shit, that thing's weird looking.
Yeah. Well, and you think it's probably just a visual aid. Like someone drew it up and you're just waving it around on a camera. You don't think that, I mean, that probably took people a lot of time to build, create, and then actually make it look respectable.
Oh yeah, put a lot of time and effort into it.
Yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's where I kind of fall off with Carpenter a little bit because he does have some of that. Like even Escape from New York, you have to really like, in my opinion, and then probably I'd have to revisit it, but you have to really like Snake Plissken to kind of get into where the world's at.
Right.
Unless you really, I mean, and it could just be the world alone of New York, and if Snake wasn't half the character he was, maybe it stands on its own. But I feel like some of those movies are driven more of the character than it is with, you know, and that's why I think the difference is with that and The Thing. Because I mean, like, so what was, so I mean, the music was good. What was some things that you didn't like?
So yeah, I touched on it already. The dialogue, the way that was filmed and sort of written. Not more so written, but just like the pacing of it was like really quick, almost too quick for my liking.
Which is crazy. It still boggles my mind. I'm like, this is 1986 and it's like moving too fast.
Yeah, right.
You know, that's why I'm kind of having, but I could definitely, I understand because it, just the dialogue.
It's like there's no breathing room at all. And I just, oh boy, I had to like step back and take a breather. It felt like, so yeah, that, really wasn't a huge fan of like the big monster thing that they had, like the big like gorilla looking like dude.
I agree with that.
Even like at the end I was like, I wasn't
it's cartoony
a huge fan of that. Yeah, it was very cartoony.
It's very 80s.
Yeah, for sure. And I wasn't too big on that. Just like you know, some of the like fight stuff, I guess. Like I enjoyed it for the most part, but I do have to acknowledge that like, okay, it's very like flawed and goofy and just kind of like all over the place. You know, there were some scenes where I could tell that wasn't exactly well choreographed. They're just kind of like flailing weapons and stuff around, you know, like the alley fight way, you know. It's just, or the alleyway fight.
Oh, dude, that one was like the worst. They weren't even making contact with some of the bamboo sticks.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm like watching it, I was like, oh my God.
You can see that they're swinging at air.
Yeah. It was, some of the knives and, oh my God,
yeah, some of that stuff, and like obviously it being an older film, I have a hard time connecting with it. It's just my personal thing. It's nothing against the movie itself.
I think, not mean to cut you off here, but like with people listening and everything going on, it might be, I mean, we're spanning a broad horizon of films here. You're obviously going to be more inclined with what's going on with some of the newer stuff. And I think I'm going to be bringing back some of the older stuff and seeing if we can't hit it or if it's a miss. Because, I mean, I think it's worthy of having in the zeitgeist of the films that you've seen. Yeah. You know,
and there are like some older movies that I really love, that I really connect with, like Taxi Driver. You know, I really... It's like in my top 50, but I typically with my tastes, I tend to like gravitate towards something that has come out like after the year 2000, I would say.
100%.
And that's, like I said, that's just my own personal sort of preference, I guess.
I'm going to tell you right now, like when I tell you like me and my brother were 8 or 9, like when I'm not exaggerating. I think that's like, I'm just thinking about this too. I was like, we were exposed to a lot of, I saw Predator, I think when I was 10.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm watching Alien, in 6th or 7th grade. We watched The Exorcist in 6th grade. You know what I'm like? There's just a lot of those older films I think I was exposed to at a younger age that made me watch a lot more films during that time.
Yeah.
So I think you coming up, you probably didn't really start viewing movies. You like watching them until you said MCC, where you actually started getting an appreciation for them.
Yeah, no, and a lot of that too has to do with like the fact that a lot of those movies are for like an older audience. Not saying that you can't watch it when you're like 8 or 9, but the fact that like my parents probably viewed me and they had a lot of like VHSs. They had like the Alien movies and they had all these different like classics, Predator, but they didn't show me those movies because they probably felt like I wasn't old enough, and I was.
My dad's rule was if there's no tits, you can watch it. It was awesome. Except when you wanted to see a pair of boobies when you're 12.
Yeah. But for me, I because as a kid, I really didn't like show that interest either.
Yeah.
Like I didn't go up to my dad and I was like, "Hey, can we watch Predator?"
Oh, dude, don't act like. Hey, I'm telling you right now, my dad was like, I want to rent this thing, and mom's out of the house, like I'm gonna pass out at 10 o'clock, like we're gonna throw it on. I saw The Rock, like when did The Rock come out with Nick Cage and Sean Connery?
I will verify that
we
right now.
rented that from Blockbuster and I watched that with my dad.
Oh, Team Blockbuster.
Yeah. Shout out.
Oh, not
Were we at Oregon?
Not the Rocketeer.
Not Dwayne Johnson.
1996.
That's when The Rock came out?
Yes.
So I saw it in probably 97 because we rented it from Blockbuster.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was, my dad just was like, I mean, the violence in it, whatever. I mean, you're going to get exposed. I don't even know what his fucking rationale is. I'm not going to lie. But, however, the rule was if there's no tits, you can watch it. And he was usually pretty spot on if there was or wasn't, So, I mean, there was things where it's just like, sure.
Oh, Dad knew.
Oh yeah, he was right. He was on top of it. Well, the 80s stuff for sure. Yeah. So like Fright Night. I mean, we had Fright Night on VHS. I probably watched that when I was 9. The other thing too is he was a huge movie guy, so he would just have VHSs where, you'd put it in the VCR, record it on USA or whatever, and he'd just write it down. So I mean, like me and Sam would just go and we'd go, all right, well, this looks interesting. Let's throw this on.
Yeah.
And so like you kind of just view movies that way, and you had an idea. Platoon was one that he said you can never watch this one until you got to get older. There was a couple ones that he was well aware of, but then I think like Predator, he's like, it's a fucking alien in the jungle.
Yeah.
Nothing like, how are they ever gonna get absorbed into this life and think that this is gonna impact them?
Right.
So.
Yeah.
That's where some of my older taste comes from, is just because I was involved in that world.
Different upbringings for sure.
Yeah.
I think because I'm almost like the way my childhood was is almost like polar opposite. Like I really wasn't super into movies. Like my parents really weren't into super into movies. Like as a kid, obviously I had like some VHSs of like certain movies. Like I think I had Napoleon Dynamite on VHS that they got from like a garage sale.
Yeah.
That I watched over and over again when I was in middle school.
Favorite movie all time.
It was for a while when I was like 11, 12 years old. But, just that sort of like different perspective of it, like that different upbringing can give you like a sort of appreciation for a movie that I wouldn't have had otherwise,
Yeah.
Like you view this movie and you see like all the different aspects of it and you can like appreciate it for the reasons that you did for when you were younger that I probably will never have.
Well, I'll say, yeah, kind. I mean that, and one of the things that you got to appreciate about a movie is that you read up on interviews that were done in 2007. Like it's just I will always look. If there's information on Big Trout, like I want to learn more. I had no idea that there was a strike on the film and that they picketed it. They picketed filming. with these, within the San Fran, and there, I think it's a heavy Asian American community over there in San Francisco, or at least in Little China. I mean, it's probably named that way for a reason.
I'm guessing.
One can only speculate.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Yeah. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. But that's what I'm saying. Like, and then you read up on this stuff and you find out that Kurt Russell wasn't the first guy thought of, and that when he came in, he thought it was going to be a bomb, and Carpenter said, "Listen, like, I just like working with you. Like, let's do it."
Yeah.
So I mean, it's stuff like that. So it does tie into it, and I think that's what. Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
Contagious.
Yeah. Yes. Contagion.
I'm just kidding.
So yeah. So anyways, and that's where. So we don't have to dive too much more into it, because really my biggest thing, and I was like, if Jack Burton was just such a phenomenal character for me, but different ways on it. What we can move on from it. I know we got some questions still coming up.
We got some questions, yes.
So
I guess
you can break my heart. I'm gonna tell you right now. If you gotta go low, you gotta go low.
I really didn't go as low as I think you're expecting.
Okay.
I gave this film a 7 out of 10.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Solid movie overall. Mm-hmm. Overall, I enjoyed it. Just some things that I really didn't connect with.
Yeah.
And don't have that sort of appreciation for that you do.
For sure, 100%. And and I won't lie to, and I don't know if you had that or not, but if you went into it with like, you've seen The Thing and Escape from New York. Mm-hmm. And this is like it's not even, in my opinion, completely different movies than those two.
Right.
It'd probably even be closer to Escape from New York, but even then, like,
even then, tonally, it's
dystopian future.
Yeah.
You know what I'm like? So I think that could also, like I say, expectations are kind of what you're thinking you're gonna get from it. It goes one way. But yeah, no, that's awesome. This is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Bada bing.
It's top 5, and the imperfection of the movie is what makes it perfect for me. It's all of that little shit that you're like,
gives it that charm.
Yeah, and I mean, even watching it, I just was like, I didn't realize the action was even that bad, and I still like, I could throw this on tomorrow and just watch it. I mean, I think that's just really how much I like Jack Burton, though, and I maybe if it came down to it, if it would be, he'd be like one of my top 5 characters. But even the film alone, like it was fun reading more up on this and learning more about it, and some of what it was predicated on. Mm-hmm. There's a movie called Zoo. There's a couple of these movies that are like modern, contemporary, like kung fu or westerns that are set in different types of cultures.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I like this movie. I might check that one out. Mm-hmm. So, and then there you go. So cool. Big Trouble in Little China.
We should mention before we move on that you walked through the front door.
Stop. Stop, Kyle.
You walked through the front door. Not only did I, gaze upon your beauty.
Oh yeah. Well,
but I was enamored with the fact that you came dressed as Jack Burton from the movie. Like, you have the full attire going on.
I could. I'm missing a Harley Davidson hat and the sunglasses, and the boots. I think there's a couple pieces there.
I was going to say, you got a ball cap, you've got the tank top, you've got the jacket.
And the jeans.
And the jeans. You've got the entire look,
dude,
basically.
I'm telling you, I cannot. I gained more of an appreciation for him after this film. Because when you watch it, the first times I've seen it, never thought about him being fish out of water. Mm-hmm. Never. It's just kind of like, oh, that's Jack Burton. He can go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And then I was watching this before I even read the shit up on him. And I was like, does Kurt Russell even fight in this thing? Like, I didn't realize how bad the fighting was, and then I'm like watching him. I'm like, I don't even know if he fights. Yeah. And then he does this thing, he shoots it, gets knocked out, and then that always cracks me up. And then he takes out the dude, does it, and then like the one thing he does is he hits Lopan, and I was like, I think that's it. And then I read up on him, and I was like, oh, they really made him a baffable character.
He fumbled his way through it, and then he put his hands together and went, my work here is done.
Yeah. Oh my god. And that's exactly what he fucking got in that truck and was just like, yep, old Jack Burton saved the day again.
He just gave him an ego boost.
For no reason whatsoever. No. I will say this too. One of the things, and this is why it probably was for me too. But one of the things we used to do in our when I was coaching, we used to drink energy drinks before our games and whatnot. And sometimes if we had to go up into the press box, me and my brother would always take our energy drinks and we drink it and be like, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, man. I feel kind of invincible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got this
in the elevator.
Positivity around me, like everything's gonna go right. Yeah, me too, man. Like just all right, I'm done.
Yeah, I enjoyed that scene too. So that's a good sort of transition into our questions that we got.
Here we go.
We got some questions on the Facebook. I'm gonna say this right now. We might not get through all of them, so we might save some for episode 16. So just letting you guys know right now, if you left a question and we didn't read it off, sorry. We'll get to it next time. I promise.
Yeah.
Mwah. Love you guys. So our first question comes from Joanne, my mom. She says, has a movie ever made you feel happier after you watched it? And if so, what movie? There's a lot of movies that I've gotten happier after watching. Normally like comedies. Like I watched Hot Fuzz the other day. I rewatched that.
Oh yeah.
Fucking love Hot Fuzz.
I've not seen Hot Fuzz.
My mom watched Hot Fuzz with me the first time I saw it because
Really?
it was playing on TV, and I remember being a kid and we were just scrolling through, the cable, just like trying to see what was on, and that movie came up, and I was like, oh, it's got the same guys from Shaun of the Dead in it. So
Yeah.
she had never seen Shaun of the Dead before, so put that on, and it was hilarious. It's like probably one of my favorite comedy movies.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned Hot Fuzz like several times.
Oh yeah, just like every single day. I text you about it too. I just text you the words Hot Fuzz and you just reply yep, and then that's the end of that.
It's a great conversation piece.
But yeah, Hot Fuzz, What We Do in the Shadows, just comedies, I would say. Some like drama movies like Columbus. I watched that and really liked that film. So of course I was happier after I watched it.
Yeah.
I don't know, what about you?
So immediately what comes to mind is just How to Train Your Dragon. That was the first. There is a scene in that film, every time I watch it, makes my breath go away and I feel like I'm about to cry. And I think it's just the music.
Those movies, yeah, I've seen those movies too. They're very like emotionally draining sometimes.
It's not even like that. It's sometimes like things just hit you in a way where it's so like there's so much introspection just in a couple seconds. And then it's like if they hit you like that, it's almost like the knockout punch on your chin, where it's just like doesn't matter. I don't care how strong you are. If someone hits you in that same spot, you're going down.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a scene in there, and so anytime I watch that movie, it always just. I almost feel there's so many emotions that run through me, and I think that is one that where if I was like feeling really down, like I could probably put that on and it'd bring a smile to my face.
Yeah. A lot of like kids movies, I guess, like you were saying, How to Train Your Dragon, Shrek, obviously. I'm pretty happy after I watched Shrek.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I loved Lion King, Bug's Life. Bug's Life was probably my favorite Pixar movie for the longest time, and I would rewatch it constantly. Yeah, no, there's a lot of them, I would say.
Yeah, I think the kids, definitely nostalgia. I'm just trying to think of, and I'm also trying to go through my head if there's anything that's not a kids movie that I'd be like, Starsky and Hutch.
John Wick, obviously for me. I'm always happy after I watch those movies.
Yeah.
Well, I guess amped is a word for it.
Yeah,
it's just like pure testosterone running through my veins.
Yeah. Puts a little lead in your pencil.
Yeah. Like I feel like I could kill someone after I watch them.
Yeah, and that brings me happiness.
Delicious.
Trying to think. Probably. Starsky and Hutch.
Grand Budapest Hotel for me.
Oh, see, I think the movies there can't be too many stakes involved where I'm not, because if it continuously makes you happy after watching it, I don't think they can have too high of stakes because you're still on that same emotional roller coaster.
Okay.
You know?
So like a feel-good movie, kind of.
Well, that's what I'm just kind of thinking. I mean, I don't know if Starsky and Hutch is a feel-good, but like it's so, you know.
It's very consistently like, oh.
Cartoon. I keep saying cartoony, but
you know,
we gotta stop
if the shoe fits.
Yeah.
I'm not going to penalize you. I'm not going to kick you off
There we go.
the set.
It's all right.
I'm not going to kick you out of my house.
It might be redundant. I don't care.
You know, I'll allow it.
Yeah. So, and those are I'm just gonna go with that.
Okay. This next question comes from my Aunt Jalen. I'm gonna preface this right now. She straight up spoils 2 movies in her question, and I'm not gonna read what the movies are, but you're just gonna Her question is, am I the only one who hates a movie with a sad ending? For instance, I don't like blank because he dies at the end. Blank, too, ruins the whole movie for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm not going to name what the movies are, but straight up just 2, like, classic big movies that she just, like, oh, hey, the main character dies in them. There you go. It's like, thanks, Aunt Jay.
Well, Aunt Jan?
Aunt Jay.
Aunt Jay. Thank you for the question, Aunt Jay.
Thank you for the spoilers.
Well, we didn't read them off.
No.
Plus, it's like twisting arms getting some people to watch older films. Am I right?
No comment.
No. So what it was if the
she's asking like is she the only one who doesn't like an ending, like a sad ending?
No,
like she doesn't like a movie with a sad ending.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I appreciate realism in film, and there are plenty of films where I would be I would think, now I don't know, because like I could watch it and be like, that was fucking stupid, why didn't he live?
Yeah,
you know, but like from my perspective and kind of like thinking about rewriting it, like I definitely see that there are movies that I would not be upset if someone did die.
Yeah,
for the right purposes.
There are movies where it's just very fitting for the main character to die. And some of my favorite films are like that. I'm obviously not going to name them because I don't want to spoil them. But if for the purpose of the film, it adds to it, or like it feels right, then I tend to enjoy it, whether or not the main character meets their demise. There are some movies where like, it's like the best possible outcome.
I mean, oh my God,
we can't
even fucking talk about.
We can't spoil.
Sorry,
it.
There is one film though that it's like well deserved, but not well deserved. Like I'm just saying, like I cried like when I was 13 watching this.
Okay.
And you'll know one day. I'll tell you right now. It's
foreshadowing.
Yeah. So, but dude, like I remember and like thinking like that was bullshit. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate, and I try to stay away from sort of oh my God, experimental filmmaking. Mm-hmm. But like, and this one wasn't. This is definitely commercial blockbuster. But like for them to invoke that emotion out of you, I think means they did their job.
Yeah. And there are some cases where it is bullshit. Mm-hmm. For a movie, like they kill the main character and it just doesn't add anything, or
pull
it feels
the punch,
feels purposeless.
Yeah,
like
you can't say it. We don't want to ruin it.
I can't say it. Yeah, I was just about to say it's not something that we can really get into too much detail about, but there are good movies with good endings where the main character dies. Yeah, and then there are, of course, the inverse of that, where there are bad movies where the main character dies and it's bad because of that. It goes both ways. I mean,
I'll say I stick to this. If you're sad at the end of it, they did their job, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they're? Because if it's a bad movie and the guy dies,
if the movie's meant to make you sad and that happens, then yes, it's a good. It's a good ending.
I was about to say, because if it's a bad movie and the guy dies, you don't care. You don't give a shit. It's just like, and then they missed. You're
like, oh, thank fuck, the movie's over.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ. Wow, that was a weird one. Boy, don't check out Mel Gibson's.
Ooh,
spoiler.
Our next question comes from Mark. What was one movie that made you want to make a movie excuse me. What was one movie that made you want to make one that's the same genre as the one you just watched? So a movie that you've seen that made you want to make a movie of that same vein. And I guess I can answer this. Columbus, when I watched that movie, it made me want to make sort of like a low budget, dialogue heavy character relationship film. Like I watched that movie and I became like very inspired to try to like make that sort of thing. And I even have like an idea for like a potential script. You know, I don't want to get too much into it because I don't know if anything will come of it, but it's, you know, something that in part is a product of me watching that film.
No, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had one, I mean, we talked about the John Wick one. I like the fish out of water, but instead of being out of water, it's more of out of his environment. Mm-hmm. And it's that different perspective of following a low-life henchman as he's getting chased, and it kind of puts him into a, is that anti-hero? I don't want to say, Russell's not sympathetic villain.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, because, like, it really turns, it so, it'd be like if a guy was getting chased by John Wick. Obviously...
Like characters who are out of their element.
Yeah, I mean, well, he'd be the protagonist, but he did some evil things to get John Wick to chase him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think sympathetic villain, and it puts, you know, this invisible... Anyways, that was one, and then there was another one, Clerks. Clerks, that kind of indie low budget shot in a day. Mm-hmm. Like you talk a little bit about Columbus, I think spawns character development, or would you character
character relationships.
Yeah, it would be two friends just within a day doing probably not nefarious, but
yeah, I don't know about you, but I tend to get like inspired by lower budget movies because they feel more like in the realm of something I could do. So like the Pusher movies, for example, by Nicholas Winding Refn, when I watched those, I don't know if I'd necessarily say I was inspired by him, but it definitely gave me the sense that I could do something like that. Yeah. Like I could make a movie that's in that same vein and style and feel like I could be decent at it.
Dude, 100%. I mean, Clerks was made off like 15 grand or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I honestly, I mean, if you get the right dialogue on, you get a genuine relationship on the screen, right? And you know, kind of, I mean, like what you're talking, Curb Your Enthusiasm, to shoot one of those, if you take out all the actors, like that budget alone, what you have to commit, that's not like they're doing a whole bunch of stuff. It's just witty dialogue, and they're just having people doing a little improv. Yeah. But because they're all friends, they kind of know what makes each other work, you know, what ticks them off, what can kind of push their buttons off. That's what makes it genuine. And I think people, for the most part, like genuine. That's why James Cameron is the best at what he does. He might not be the best director, but he makes everything feel genuine on the screen that you're watching. Even Blue People Fucking felt like they had some sort of relationship. They build that relationship, and he makes you grow to be fond of them. So, I mean, like, that's where I think, what the fuck? Who did the Transformers films?
Michael Bay.
Yeah, Ambulance. He's got a knack for on-screen blowing shit up.
Yep.
You know, grabbing that. That's his kind of niche. I think that if you sway the other way and you got good writing, you know, I think you could definitely handle something like that if you build it. And it's got to be, but it's your vision. You can't have too many hands on it. Yeah.
Something, and I will say before we move on, I guess like something that's more like lower budget, like especially one that's grounded in realism, like something like Prisoners, Columbus, I already mentioned, Pusher, Drive.
Yeah.
I tend to get more so inspired by those than something that's like really high concept, like Dune. Great movie. Like I really like Dune. I would not say that inspires me to make a movie.
God, no. Dude.
One, because it's super intimidating, and two, you know, sci-fi stories aren't really like the type of stories that I would necessarily maybe want to tell. At least not like from the get-go, you know.
They're so, I mean, I don't know. I think they're so metaphorical, and they have so much more symbolism attached to it that like you have to kind of live in that world of phantasm, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, and attach so many different things in your head to something else.
Yeah.
And high concept, but I think Gotham is as close as you can get to a sci-fi film, if you ask me. If you attach some of those
very otherworldly sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, like mostly it like ties back into that like lower budget thing. Like Primer made me want to make a movie after I saw it.
Yes.
And that's like, science fiction movie.
Well, but
it's science fiction, but it's like it's very grounded. As grounded as they can make a time travel story.
That guy, he wrote it. He had a very good idea.
Right. Exactly. The idea is what made that movie special.
Yeah, I think I'd definitely. Yeah, it'd be fun to fucking. I had a buddy of mine that just said something in a group chat. It was like, someone needs to write a fucking screenplay. I was laughing. I was like, what? This came out of left field.
They were like, whoa, where'd this come from? But yeah, did you have anything else or?
No, that's it. I mean, I've looked at like how to. I'm generally curious as to how to write one. It would be something. It'd be a fun project to do. But I think, yeah. Well, if one of us in the room were to do it, I think it'd be the guy sitting across from me. That's just a coin toss, but I'm leaning a little bit more towards heads.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I definitely think that it could be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Like no one. That's the great thing about it too, is that like. You're only limited by yourself. Mm-hmm. You're the only one stopping you from going and writing that thing.
Yeah,
it's definitely plagued me multiple times, but I try my best to barrel through it.
Yeah,
and just keep going. Don't give up, Mark.
Don't ever give up.
Yes, because I know you, Mark, and I know you're asking this question from a place of, I want to make stuff. Then
fucking do it.
Yeah, Don't let you be your own worst enemy. Our next question comes from Madeline. What video game do you think of when you think of your childhood? For me, it's Tomba for the PlayStation 1. So one of our first like non-movie related questions.
Oh, they're trying to get to know us.
Yes. And I like that. Variety. For me, it's a lot of Mario. I think I've mentioned this before when we were talking about the Mario movie coming out later this year, but I grew up with Mario, played like most of the like mainline Mario games, and just like, the classic Mario NES, that was like the first video game I played. Some like PlayStation stuff like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, like that's one. But for the most part, it's like Nintendo oriented with Mario and that whole franchise.
Yeah.
What about you?
Vice City.
Ooh.
Yep.
GTA. See, I didn't get into GTA until later because my parents wouldn't let me get it for the longest time.
I had a buddy that had he got the first PlayStation 2. I mean, like right when they came out, family got it for him, and GTA 3 had just come out. And we played a little bit of it, and I was like, man, this is fucking insane. So, I mean, 2 years later, I have a PlayStation 2, and Vice City came out. Loved GTA 3, so I went and got Vice City, and that's the first game where I remember playing with friends at the the wee hours of the morning, trying to find hidden packages and complete the missions, and you got to beat it without doing the gun cheat. And there's a lot of. I said, "Hey, yo, Mario, take it easy."
Yeah.
There's a couple quotes. You the main man.
Yeah.
There's a couple.
GTA
quotes.
is very quotable.
Oh my god, dude! There's some good. I mean, if some of it, I didn't get into San Andreas was fun, and I had a good time with it. But I think I was just on the cusp of playing like more sports games.
Yeah.
So NCAA 2002 with Joey Harrington on the cover is another big one for me. But
there you go.
I need to get into that.
No, get into it as much as you want. It's answering the question.
No, that's about it. Oregon Trail.
Okay. I played a lot of video games, so it would take a while for me to like go through everything. There's like Smash Bros. I played Halo a lot when I was at a friend's house.
Yeah.
Well,
there's so much. I mean,
there's a lot.
Just think about the question is, what when you hear someone says video game, Mario just pops right in your head.
It's for sure number one, Mario.
That's why as soon as I was like, oh, Vice City, like that's easy. Like it's $10. I can play it, put it on my PlayStation now.
Mm-hmm.
I just nostalgia.
Our next set of questions comes from Justin.
Believe it.
Who asks his first question. Who is an actor or actress that has passed away which you'd love to have back to do one more movie? For me, first thing comes into my head, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, dude, no way.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay.
Dirty Philip Seymour, man.
Philly S.
Dude, I can't believe we just fucking... Wow, that's a first. That's a podcast. Oh, yeah, dude. He passed away from a heroin overdose.
He passed away, and now there is a void of like a certain type of gravitas that is just gone now because he has died. Like I feel like there really isn't an actor who can like fill his place the way that he did.
I will no, and no, that's 100%. He passed away, man, and I was just like, you got to be shitting me.
Mm-hmm.
I think him. The other one that just popped in my head too is Robin Williams, and I didn't.
Robin Williams was my second one.
Dude, I did not appreciate Robin Williams nearly as much as I wish I would have while he was with us.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, oh, it's silly, he's funny, like it's just Robin. And then he kind of, he passed, he committed suicide, and you watch some like Good Will Hunting. He's got some other stuff that's come out.
The Fisher King.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Yeah, I can't. I wish I could remember some of the things I was just watching. I mean, just like low budget stuff. He was just kind of popping up in some stuff, and it's just, dude. Yeah, he was a fucking creative mind.
Yeah, he was a talent for sure.
So, but I think Philip. I mean, just because it's more, they both passed around the same time. I think 2014 or
it wasn't
14.
It wasn't too far apart. I remember hearing about Philip Seymour Hoffman too, just how and Robin Williams, just like how it affected me at the time. I would say probably Robin Williams more so, during that period, because I was more familiar with them then than I was with Philly C. But no, for sure, just those two. Just talent that's just lost. So there's our answer for that. Got a little dour there, but
it's all right.
We'll bring it back.
Aunt Jay probably won't like that.
His next question is, what is a movie sequel that never should have been made? And the inverse, what is a movie sequel that doesn't exist but should? Let's see here. Movie sequel that doesn't exist but should. I'm going to go with the live action Super Mario Brothers movie.
Is it a sequel?
I'm saying it should have a sequel.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
because they set up for a sequel at the end of the film,
right?
And then it never happened. So,
I wrote down answers on here.
Okay, good.
No, so you jumped ahead of me too.
I did,
because I was ready for the one that shouldn't be made. So what movie sequel that doesn't? So it's funny that I put this. Starsky and Hutch.
Okay.
A plethora of scenarios to get them involved in, right? You can any crime that's happening in Bay City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good rapport between the actors. Everyone loves Stiller and Owen Wilson.
This is one that should be made.
Should be made because this is, and you don't have to do repeat jokes or use ones that could have been used in the first one. There's so much standalone humor within the Starsky and Hutch realm and what they have going on and the rapport between the two actors. Because you have to find something where the guys like working with each other. That would be a big one. And I think there's unlimited scenario with crime. Starsky and Hutch take down, the evil fucking whoever, import business guy. So
I have another one. This is a serious one for ones that I want made.
Yeah.
I want Sean Baker to make a sequel to The Florida Project following Willem Dafoe's character.
Oh, God.
Managing the hotel. Because I could honestly watch an entire movie of him just dealing with miscellaneous hotel issues that he just has to get over and get through. And it would just be entertaining for me to watch. Just like watching Willem Dafoe kicking pedophiles out of his hotel, just dealing with different maintenance stuff around the building.
Yeah.
I would honestly love that. That would be great. That was my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah.
Bar none.
I have to see. That's one I got written up to watch.
It's a good one. I like it as a whole, but Willem Dafoe specifically is great.
Yeah.
It's great in almost everything. But a movie sequel that should never have been made, Matrix Resurrections.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I have one written down, but The two that precede the first one, probably not, but give it a pass. They're not bad.
They're stylistically consistent.
Yes, I love that, and that's a great phrase for them. They are, but that one should not have.
Resurrections is like, it's an even more bastard child than the other two.
Oh, they fucking. You know how I feel about Lana. They just captured her. Welcome back to
Blink twice, Lana, if you're held hostage.
Yeah. Shout out at us at Twitter.
Yeah.
No, mine was Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yes.
Me and my brother, when we were camping one year, rewrote the script for Dumb and Dumber. It was before when Harry met Lloyd.
Oh, the prequel?
So we were
Dumb and Dumberer.
Yeah. So that one's fine. Like I don't have, that one was it's funny, and I remember having some humor. I was pissed off because like me and my brother were camping. We were gonna have Dumb and Dumber go on a camping trip, and the whole time we were at Hoffmaster, we just would walk around and go through scenarios and dialogue together. And then they came out with Dumb and Dumber 2 with two obviously like aged actors that probably are just doing it for a money grab. Like I can't imagine that they loved working on Dumb and Dumber so much that they were like, hey, 20 years later, let's meet up and do it again. So
my friends and I, we were hanging out with a friend of ours in Ludington. We like went up there just for the day, and we put on this movie, The Butterfly Effect 2. Oh, it has nothing to do with the first one.
Oh,
like basically like the concept is kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like he looks at a picture or like a series of words and like just goes back to that point in time to try and fix his life. But the stakes are so damn low compared to what they were in the other movie. And the acting's awful. The way it's shot looks like an ABC Family movie. And it's weirdly kind of perverted. Like there are sex scenes in it that last for like 5 minutes.
Oh.
And you're sitting there with your friends and you're all laughing at it because it's just so damn goofy.
Right. Yeah.
And there are so many like inconsistencies with it. There are plot holes left and right. There are so many like reasons of things happening that just aren't good reasons at all.
Yeah. Well, I don't normally do this, but I will never watch Dumb and Dumber 2, so I've not seen it.
You've not seen Dumb and Dumber 2?
I burned by my own petard.
You went against your own rule.
I did.
I've been avoiding saying S. Darko and American Psycho 2 because you gave me shit the other time we got a similar question.
So I'm going to say this, though, okay? That was worst remake ever, okay? So that one was, hey, you'd have to see it to be able to judge it. This is what should not have been made. They should not have made Dumb and Dumber 2.
No, and I've seen Dumb and Dumber 2 in theaters, and they should not have made it. One of the worst movies I've seen in theaters.
This was one of the firm ones that I'd stand on. Like even American Psycho 2, I will say probably sucked. Like we all know what it's.
Yeah.
That one, The Butterfly Effect 2, I could tell you sucked. They probably shouldn't have made that one.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if there's one that if there was a controversial one that I could throw out there, but they should not have made it. It's the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I almost wrote that one down.
Oh yeah, that's another good one.
Should not have. I will never see it. They should not have made it. It just doesn't exist.
No, I've seen it, so I can say that it should never have
I'm
been
so
made.
happy that you can pick up these dark spots.
Harrison Ford was old then. He was too old then to play it.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to make a last one with him. He's like pushing mid 80s.
Yeah, him and Eastwood, man.
Like God, Eastwood's older.
Yeah.
Eastwood I think is like 91, which is crazy. But yeah, no, for sure. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
We can move on. This can be the last one and then we can end it here. We'll pick up the rest of the questions next episode.
Perf.
What is your favorite Scorsese movie and why or why isn't it The Departed? I'm going to say right now, it isn't The Departed for me.
Nope, me neither.
So sorry, Justin. I hate to break it to you. Yeah. No, my favorite would probably be, honestly, probably Taxi Driver.
Oh yeah,
I really like Taxi Driver when I watched it.
Top 50 for you.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the only Scorsese movie I have in that list, but I I would say for sure that's my number one Scorsese. I really like that movie. Just the acting, the story, the dialogue, just really comes together cohesively.
Yeah. I gotta see. That's one still. That's a blind spot. I gotta watch that one. And I don't think it'd be a bad watch either. I just gotta say I'm gonna watch it. I don't know why I get so nervous.
I do the same thing. I do the same thing with certain classics. I'm in that same boat. I feel like I'm in that same boat more so than you are, because you've seen a lot more older movies than I have. So
true. It's not the oldness. It's not that. It's just me. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think it's just being like, all right, I'm going to commit myself in my mind 2 hours. Because that's how I do it. Like when I watch. That's why I watch so many movies again and just repeat, so I don't have to think about it. Mm-hmm. Unless I'm watching it for the podcast.
Right.
No, mine is Gangs of New York.
Okay.
Just because of Bill the Butcher. I'm character driven a lot of the time with the films, and sometimes you got guys that just take precedence over the film. Some of the characters. I mean, it's just I don't even know if that's the right word, but they're bigger than the show.
Yeah,
and Bill the Butcher was fantastic.
Yeah, he chewed the scenery.
Oh yeah,
as they say.
And as a director, it's very easy to take away from you could easily knock down an actor as much as bring him up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's honestly like, being a director is just like being a manager.
Yeah.
And for him to, and it's, it's skillfully done. It's artfully done. I mean, and I think that one goes down very smoothly. Mm-hmm. So
absolutely.
Why is it not The Departed? I don't have any issues with The Departed. I think The Departed's fine. I mean, I don't think any one of the characters stick it for me.
Yeah.
With the crime that's going on and what we're viewing, it's not like it's the first or the last time I'll see it. Mm-hmm. I do like the dialogue, and then the theory that Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon are gay. Mark Wahlberg does what he does as a scorned lover.
Yeah. No spoilers for The Departed.
Yeah. So. But that's where I'd sit at with that. So I mean, I like it, and I think Nicholson's good in it. And I will say The Departed goes down just as easily. I don't think that one is a schlock. Like you don't watch that one. Like the Batman, I'm not gonna lie. When you told me you were just watching it a second time that quick, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I need to let this marinade sit down. I was like, I don't even know. Like I might see it a second time.
Yeah.
Just as like a man. But like that is. There are good movies like that are long, but The Departed is one that I could easily throw back on at any point too.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Okay, we did it. We got through those questions. I get to make a film pick. It's my turn.
Yep.
And I am currently struggling with which one to pick because I have a list of movies that I have accumulated that I want to talk about, and they're all staring at me right now. But which one to do? There's one that I am kind of leaning towards more than the rest.
Do it. Just pull it. I mean,
this is a 2011 film. It's one that I have not seen. I don't know if you have.
Really? You've not seen it.
I have not seen this.
Genre?
Fantasy comedy.
Whoa, fantasy comedy? Mm-hmm. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
No. So it is.
What letter does it start with?
M.
M?
Yes. It's a 2011 movie starring Owen Wilson. Directed. This will give it away.
Midnight in Paris.
Yep. Directed by Woody Allen.
Yeah. I think I own this movie.
Midnight in Paris. Okay. So you have seen it.
Oh, I've seen it several times. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I want to watch Midnight in Paris.
Perfect.
Because I've never seen a Woody Allen movie. I know he's kind of a perv, but I heard that his movies were good, so I want to check this one out. And I remember when I was in high school, when there were ads playing for this movie. And even in high school, when I really couldn't give two shits about thinking about movies critically, I remember seeing footage of this movie and thinking, wow, this looks interesting. And
this movie...
It's always kind of like been in the back of my mind, just sort of like the aesthetic of it. And I want to give it a watch.
Yeah. Well, yes. This will be more, I think, commercial Woody Allen. So I don't want you to judge Woody Allen just off this one.
Okay.
All right. I think this is kind of like, Yeah, a little bit more commercial Woody Allen. Kind of like Wes Anderson. Getting a little bit more zany, you know?
Yeah.
You develop that reputation. So, but yeah, I own this one. Perfect.
Awesome. So we will watch Midnight in Paris.
It's got one of my favorite. It's whimsical, and Ernest Hemingway is fantastic.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. So, so if you guys don't want to be spoiled for Midnight in Paris, be sure to watch that.
Is there a viewing option? Is it streaming anywhere?
Looks like it's on Netflix. Let me verify this.
There we go. I was about to say, because that way you guys, if you want to watch it, check it out.
Yep, it's on Netflix.
I have loaned out DVDs before to have them return. March is reading month and movie watching month.
Hey,
so,
perfect.
Yeah, I just made up the latter of the two.
Oh.
But it feels right. So, so we're running with it. So yeah, if anyone needs to rent it, borrow it, hit me up on Facebook and I'll ship it to you.
Excellent.
As long as you pay for the shipping fees.
And bring it back.
Yeah. Not damaged.
Not damaged. Not scratched.
And preferably rewound to the starting point so I don't have to do it myself.
We can save it for next episode, but trying to watch scratched discs that you rented is a whole topic in of itself. You've never had that problem?
My biggest problem I had was VHSs.
Oh.
And then, at a certain point, or you have it flipped upside down and you watch Goodfellas and it's a 2-part VHS and you start it from the halfway point and you put in the first one and
you're very confused.
Yeah. Oh my God. It really gave me new perspective on Goodfellas.
Quite literally.
Yep.
Yeah.
The part that I'll just say right now, the part that we turned it on at, Karen is sitting over him with the gun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what we throw it on. So it's like, a cold open.
Yeah. Oh, this is like a 4 days later type thing.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you put the first one on and it's like I forget how old, they're in the swamp. I mean, it kind of like, it's not that far off, but I think the ending gets a little lost.
It's a little jarring. Jesus.
Yeah.
I've had that happen before. Discs are scratched and it's a whole fucking thing.
We'll save it.
Yeah. But, thank you guys for listening. If you don't want to be spoiled for Midnight in Paris, check that out before we talk about it.
Netflix.
It's on Netflix. You can find us on YouTube. Search the Neon Crew Podcast. Spotify, too. We're also there. And our website, www.neoncrewpodcast.com. Updated a few little things on there, like our favorite movie lists in our bios for our About Us page. So
dope.
Yeah, give us a look there. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And we're everywhere.
We're
trying to do what we can. Merch coming soon.
We're in your closet. We're under your bed. We're at your window.
Baba yeah.
We are holding a pencil, just waiting for you. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Mac, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, one thing real quick. If you're in Switzerland or Denmark or any Finnish country. Foreign. Is that the word?
Maybe.
All right. Anywhere outside of Michigan, foreign.
Basically.
Hit us up on Twitter or send something on Facebook. And if this was just all a ploy to get me to talk about Switzerland or Finland, foreign, good job. Other than that, yeah, I'd like to know. I'm curious if we have someone that's freaking out there.
Yeah, I'm curious
that's
too.
Out there. Like, that's not like someone in Indiana that just...
Yeah, like just on the other side of the world.
Oh my God, what if they listened to like 2 minutes and it was just like, nope, not the wrong one.
Yeah. They were looking for something else.
Neon Poo.
My favorite band.
Yeah. What the hell is this? Movies? How do you cuss us out in freaking Norwegian?
Yeah, well, we'd have to rewatch Troll Hunter for that.
Yeah.
Bada bing.
Yeah, so is this it? This is
it.
Now time is good as ever? All right, hey everyone.
Yep.
WWTHD.
Bye, everyone.